interest. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters on this agenda? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. I'll start to my right with Nancy, Chris.
No, sir.
Rusty?
No.
Amanda?
No conflict.
Bill?
No.
I don't either. Number 4, I'd like to have a motion to bump to the next meeting as our staff has been inundated with other matters and hasn't had a chance to get that out to us. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Did you get all that, Karen? Thank you. Number 5 is the public comment section. Individuals are allowed 3 minutes to speak and must only comment on the current agenda items, at a maximum of 30 minutes is allocated to the public comment period. This time is limited, but may be extended at the discretion of the chair. With that, I'll like to open it up with Chad Emerine.
Good evening, Chad Emerine. I live in Arrow Plantation. This application for Toll Brothers is not complete and should be tabled until all requirements are completed per the UDO. I could spend more than 3 minutes on all that's missing, but I'll just focus on 2. The stormwater management plan is missing. The board tabled Polifka and Luna by Toll Brothers also due to missing this item. The second key item is an approved septic plan. These 2 items are critical to determine if this layout can be built so the council knows what they are approving. The town is approving a zoning and a layout and has a legal obligation to enforce our ordinances. The last community meeting, we were told 82 1-acre lots on conventional septic. Now we're seeing 62 lots, with over half the lots having at least a repair field off-site. On some pages, it still refers to 70 in old lot dimensions. This plan does not appear to comply with septic setbacks. The septic lots are not drawn correctly on each lot, and there's no lot dimensions. It's far more complex than any existing neighborhood that has septic lots. Stratford-on-Providence has nothing like this. This requires more time to review and more detail to see if this can be implemented. This plan doesn't even align with soil report recommendations. This also requires access under streams and roads over streams. Has the Army Corps even reviewed anything for these access roads? This area is arguably the most environmentally sensitive land in town. It has a wildlife sanctuary, and any runoff or leaks will be devastating. It took 4 versions to finally stay out of the protected eagle zone, but it is still not adequately protected. Since Toll is not claiming any rights to the lake, since the land includes 20% of the top lake and the eagle nest, we've asked repeatedly to put this land in conservation like the Catawba Land Conservancy. HOA covenants are not enough. At the bare minimum, it should be conditions for approval. We have a petition of nearly 5,000 people concerned over the protection of the nest and the lakes. We have tried as Arrow residents to work repeatedly with Toll Brothers over the last year, yet this plan is still lacking required detail. We want whatever development goes in there to respect the environment, the wildlife, and our quality of life. This plan would set a dangerous precedent for all of Weddington. We had 1 private meeting and we were told there'd be several. Yet we only had a second one when our HOA sent a letter with detailing all our major concerns. Toll Brothers has had issues with at least 3 projects in Weddington. Bromley with sediment and runoff into their lake, Enclave at Baxley with sediment and stormwater measures failing inspection, and Luna with tree save issues. It's still not adequate, and due to the missing information, it should not be recommended tonight. It should be tabled until we have more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Since Manish joined us, I just want to make sure that you don't have a conflict with this project or anything on the agenda. Thank you. Next up is John. Is that Eamon? Could you say your name?
I couldn't tell whether the thing was even working or not. Is it working?
Yep.
Nothing there. I'm a John Amon. I live at 744 Skytop Road, Waxhaw, North Kakalaki, 28173. And we are involved in pumps is what my companies do. And they sell about 3,000 of those little 2-horsepower grinder pumps, some of which, not my company's pumps, but some of which have been proposed on these lots. And that is the pump, that 2 horsepower grinder pump was developed for one thing, for use around lakes and everything else, but not to pump from a septic tank into a holding field where it can go ahead and drain and feed back into the white water to the lake. That was designed to pump into a forest main and get carried to a wastewater treatment plant. We sell 3,000 of these a year, and I don't know of one pump, not one grinder pump, that we have is designed to do that. I read that is sold to do that. But even more disheartening than that is that when I looked at these plans, I mean, I couldn't figure them out. I mean, I don't know. I had 3 different sets of the plans, and it's changed every time. But it's hard to figure out what are the total lots that are going to have septic. Is it 70? Is it 90? Is it 62? Is it 63? How are these going to go? I mean, they're going to each have an individual line that runs down there. You have like 13 or 14 or 15 or 19. I can't tell what the latest plans are on the east side. And each one of them shows going to a separate drain field down below. And that shows as a separate line. I mean, can you imagine the nightmare that is, having 13 or 14 2-inch lines running down there? And the other thing is, if you're going to run a 2-inch line for a residential home, you have to maintain 21 gallons a minute in order to meet viscosity. That means your wastewater has to move 2 feet a second. If it doesn't meet 2 feet a second, the state should shut it down right then. Shouldn't let it go. But I don't see any forethought or planning on that. I just made a couple quick other notes on that. I said, how is the wastewater to be moved from these lots that aren't having the septic tank right on their lot? Is it going to be a pump that's going to do it? It's going to pump it? If that's the case, and if they're going to use a 2 horsepower grinder, like we have grinders that go, and they have something called total dynamic head, has a total dynamic head of 190 feet. That means you can pump that, put that pump in the ground with some water and put a pipe up 190 feet. That's going to put water out. So if you're pumping down along on a horizontal and you're going down to a drain field down there, I assume then you're going to have another tank. The Toll Brothers are here. They can answer that question. That's pretty simple. You're going to have another big tank. Then you would use one of those smaller pumps to pump it out possibly. But still then, and it has to be on a flat piece of land, or else it's going to follow the contour of that land. If it slopes down towards the lake, it's going to make it to the lake. I could go on about all these different things that they have, but really the long and the short of it is this. I took this down to, I was down the coast. We do a lot of business there with a bunch of engineers. And I took it to 3 different engineering agencies. And they said this plan looked like something they would give their EITs as an assignment to take home, because it didn't look complete and they couldn't make heads or tails of it. So the long and short of it is this presentation. We currently have systems, laws, and regulations in place in Weddington, which is the reason almost everybody here, except for you people from Toll Brothers, that probably moved here. And that is 1 acre, 1 house. And then it has to be on perkable land. And if you don't have that, then let's wait until the Infrastructure Act gets done, gets in place, and we go ahead and expand it down there.
Thank you.
Cut me off?
Yes.
That's it. Okay.
Hey, all right, guys. I'm going to say this one time. We're going to be professional in this audience. Thank you. Next, we have Jamie. Is that Pratt?
Janie Pratt, 916 Woods Loop in Arrow Plantation, speaking on behalf of the Arrow HOA Board. The HOA opposes this concept plan for many reasons detailed in a separate position statement submitted earlier for the record. Tonight, I'll address only traffic. 3 material omissions in the traffic impact analysis are: first, traffic was counted on March 7 when the Weddington Christian Academy, with 118 students, was closed for a school holiday. 118 trips times 2 for drop-off and pickup would increase traffic counts between 5 and 20% at the two intersections of highest concern. Second, the study omits entirely the intersection at Providence and Weddington Roads, despite the fact that the study identified these two primary roadways carrying the largest volumes. Third is the omission of any support whatsoever for a trip growth rate assumption of 2% annually. These material omissions undermine the conclusions on the levels of service. One example, the intersection of Weddington and 12 Mile Creek roads. Until the road improvements there are completed, the level of service will go from F to a worse F. Widening was approved in 2015, then suspended for 5 years, resuming just this past summer. Just last month, the utility construction was delayed from this year to next. The construction timing is crucial. Labella's review of the TIA scoping document states, quote, "The assignments consider the roadways interconnect to be completed. Should occupancy be proposed to begin before the roadway interconnect is completed, an interim TIA is to be performed with a shorter time frame." Arrow Plantation asks for a pause on this project until an accurate, comprehensive TIA can be prepared. Growth in our lovely town has outpaced our road infrastructure. We must proactively manage that balance of growth and infrastructure. We neglect it at our peril and risk sacrificing the serene rural lifestyle of our town. Thank you for your consideration of our concerns.
Thank you.
And I have copies of my remarks if anyone would like to have
If
them.
you just want to give it to,
Would as well.
sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Shall I just leave them here?
That'd be fine.
Thank you.
Next up is Stephen, is this Siegfried?
Siegfried.
Sorry.
Yeah. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. First and foremost, perk tests need to be done. Toll Brothers has been at this for over a year, still have not perked the soil to see if the soil can actually take the flows. The soil report, which is on the website, I read it. It said that there's no guarantee that from the soil report, this can be permitted. So without perk test showing that the land can take the flow of these septic tanks, you don't know if it can or not. This is the most complicated, convoluted septic plan ever. You're taking on the east side 9 homes, pumping the water a quarter mile down the street to a joint septic field with 9 separate septics on it. Again, it hasn't been perked. If the town allows this to go through, and if you guys allow this to go through, one of my fears is Toll Brothers is going to come back with, well, we can't do septic, so now we want spray fields, or now we want something else. Once you've started down the funnel of approving a septic plan that hasn't been proven to work, I just don't see how you can approve it. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Charlie?
Good evening. My name is Charles Bondurant. I reside at 646 Brandy Court. That's lot 13 in Arrow Plantation. You see represented in the plot that has been provided by Toll Brothers. It's illustrated again on that plot dated 11/22. My property is directly adjacent to the Deal Farm, about 3.5 acres, directly abutting the Deal Farm. And that comprises also positioning about 600 feet from the proposed 377,000 square foot sublot intended for septic perking. We consider that septic perking appears to support between 12 and 20 residences, although without a plan, we can't determine that. We're also adjacent to existing and natural stormwater buffers surrounding wetland creeks, substantially draining unimproved and natural areas via existing grades, having the area between 18 and 40 acres, all owned by the Deal family presently, and within plot design. Collectively, through existing and undisturbed grade, storm, and wastewater, by proposal will be passed through this area, but also retained for perking within the area. The direct concern that I have relates to exposure, again, to both the upper and, by virtue of flows, the lower lakes of Arrow Plantation and the outflow into 12 Mile Creek itself, a Class C regulated watershed. That Class C is a designation for protection and propagation of aquatic life. And it makes up then the collective run we refer to as Mundy's Run. So my comments are focused really on the proposal and placement of both the septic space, but also the plan for stormwater release. The plan illustrates the SEMs for at least 10 lots, and access and roadways will depend upon creek buffer for stormwater management to be able to supply stormwater outflow for lots 32 through 36, 38, 39, 46, and 48, 10 lots in total from what we can see. Those 10 lots produce somewhere in excess of 80,000 square feet of non-permeable surface to be directly drained into the creeks. While we do see SEMs designated, if you consider the grades and you consider the illustration of the topographicals, they'd have to redirect water into those SEMs to avoid the stormwater buffers that are proximate. Again, the plan illustrates 377 square feet of septic sublots. Those sublots, again, rest adjacent to that creek buffer. It's interesting to note that same grade where that sublot is positioned, and the grade was mentioned earlier on, is presently heavily wooded, would require clearing of timber, regrade of septic fields, and would substantially alter watersheds, would expose then the lakes and the creek bed to both contaminant silt. We consider the soils that make up the area that this would rest upon. They're 40% if we can consider the indications of Western Union County soils have a 40% gravelly silt loam, not suited as a retention, not suited for retention, but also certain for erosion risk. And we'll release these contaminants if they are discharged from.
Thank you, Chad.
If they are
Charles, sorry.
discharged. Have I run time?
Yes, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Chad Bramman.
Good evening, Planning Board. Jack Brayman. I live at 963 Woods Loop in Arrow Plantation. The development plan being proposed is highly complex. That's a dangerous precedent for future developments. My family and I live here, raising our children in this community. We should not have to worry about potential hazards of stormwater and wastewater that could jeopardize our health, safety, and quality of life. Our children swim in the lake, and the chance of a contamination is very, very troubling to us. We take great pride in our natural surroundings, including our night skies and nature preserves. The introduction of bright lights from this development would disrupt this cherished views. Many neighborhoods in our community do not have streetlights, and we value this intentional preservation of our environment. My wife sent a thoughtful email to the planning board raising multiple valid concerns about the project. Unfortunately, Travis Manning, the chairman, responded with a short, dismissive reply that seemed to shut down the concerns entirely. This type of response gives the impression he does not value feedback or the wishes from citizens. Instead, he came across as combative and inappropriate for a community leader in Weddington. I want to give you his parting comment in the mail. Quote, "Furthermore, please keep in mind that a third of the lake is owned by the landowners Toll is under contract with. If it wasn't for that family allowing Mr. Nesbitt to dam the water, the lake would not be there. This happened 60 years ago. This isn't relevant. Such a statement is uncalled for and reflects clear bias. This is not the mindset of an impartial community leader who should prioritize the broader interest of the community over individual landowners and developers. Given the circumstances, I respectfully request that Mr. Manning recuse himself from this process. His actions and comments indicate a lack of objectivity, which is critical for the decision of this magnitude. Thank you for your time and consideration. It's critical that we have an eye on the safety of our community. And I hope going forward, you guys will take care of it. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Debbie Moffett.
Is that Moffett?
I'm Debbie Moffett, and my son Michael is outside. We live in Arrow Plantation, Barron Road. I'm a board member, assuming my husband's role when he died unexpectedly this year. And yes, my family is experiencing what some of you already know, deep, permanent loss. Jay used to say that life is filled with difficult conversations. And he also frequently would say to take the emotion out of it. Look at the facts before deciding on the next best steps. We tell our kids this all the time, and those were literally just, he firmly believed that. So as it relates to Toll Brothers and the subdivision to be built literally in my family's backyard, I take grievance with first, the previous versions of this plan, including the current one, continues to be vague. Yet one thing is certain, it has severe impacts on my family personally. And you're welcome to come stand in my backyard and you'll agree the natural beauty will forever be changed. Next, it's still very unclear what trees are going to be saved to preserve the natural setting. And might I add that Weddington just experienced trees being decimated by Toll Brothers at the Luna subdivision. How is that acceptable? What protections do we have that this won't happen again? And trees are important to our viewership and vitally important to the health of the wildlife. The eagles, which were very active today, the herons and the osprey, they live and they nest families in those trees. Weddington is their home too. Arrow is a natural preserve, and all the areas abutting the lake and Mundy's Run need to be protected. Permanent harm to our ecosystem, be it water contamination or decimation of the wildlife, is far too precious of a community asset to risk. Adding more homes and buildings to Weddington demands integrity and certainty that we have the appropriate and fail-proof infrastructures in place before making any decisions for any developer. Toll Brothers, their application cannot be considered or voted upon until all their information is disclosed in detail.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Aaron. Yeah, thank you.
Can you spell that when you get to the?
I'm Erin Cusimano, Cusumano. I live at 1431 Wedding Hills Drive. I'm an adjacent homeowner, so this will literally be in my backyard. I'm also an HOA board member. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. My main concern is that the in-person community meetings that Toll Brothers has held was for a completely different plan than what's being presented tonight. So the community has not had an opportunity to have questions asked and answered about the current plan. There's many concerns about septic, stormwater management, tree removal. The traffic plan looks good for once the Weddington Road expansion happens. But prior to that, when in the new development, they can only make a right-hand turn and they need to go the opposite direction, whose neighborhoods and developments are they going to be making U-turns in? And then another main concern is once development is complete, where's the accountability? So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bob Williams.
Good evening, Bob Williams, 1440 Weddington Hills Drive. Also an adjacent homeowner to the Deal project, the north side, east side, whatever you want to call it, Weddington Hills side. Several things I want to talk about have already been voiced, but a couple questions that I have is one is looking out for the future homeowner in this particular subdivision that's proposed, some hidden costs. I understand and had to take a quick look. 5 months ago at a community meeting, we were looking at land that perked, good soil, and we went to a 1 acre and a septic system per lot. And I thought, all right. And I even texted Robert and said, hey, fully behind this. It sounds good. It's the direction I think we like to go. I got to admit, 3 days ago, it felt like I got blindsided. And I'm not sure how you folks feel. But I was quite surprised to see that we were going to go to the gang system, if you will, where there's 12 fields in one section of the property. The hidden cost that I'm talking about, that I'm concerned about the future homeowner, HOA, is there's a lot of positives on this panel block system. But the negative that they don't talk about on the websites of the manufacturer, distributors, or the installers is the fact that you're putting the same amount of wastewater in half the amount of soil. So a conventional system goes, what, 20, 30 years? You could be looking at 10 to 15 years where you get saturation in your drain field with this system. Then you're talking about another 8 to 10,000. That's today dollars. I don't know what the inflation will be 15 years from now. But how is that cost? I mean, right now we're looking at monitoring and maintenance costs for the septic field. We're looking at monitoring and maintenance costs for the retention ponds. We got the landscaping costs. All these are HOA costs these homeowners are going to have to flip the bill for. And then you've got these hidden costs. We saw what happened in Waxhaw when you had all these people buying homes and later on found out that, oh my gosh, there's a shooting range behind us. I don't know how much of this hidden cost gets exposed, but I'd be interested in finding out. The last point I had is environmental. I believe Toll Brothers employed Piedmont Environmental Study Group or Environmental Associate Group to do a little study. And their recommendation was that conventional access can utilize chamber technology or panel block technology to reduce the footprint of the required area. We still recommend that you will allocate 1,000 square feet per bedroom for each of the primary and repairs fields. When I look at the new proposal, I see 3,000 square feet, which would indicate 3-bedroom homes, $1.5 million 3-bedroom homes. I know that's not the case.
Thank you.
So my point is, why did we ignore the recommendation?
Thank you, Bob. Next up is Kim.
Thank you. I really think y'all were listening to all of these awesome residents, because we have some awesome professional who do their homework, who research, and you guys know what you're talking about. I feel like I have learned more residents who have thoroughly done their homework on all of this. And so I just thoroughly applaud you. I guess the biggest thing that I just want to use my time on is like, why are we even here? Even on this agenda, we're going to be discussing new business and old business, and we're going to talk about text amendments and why. Why even have rules and procedures if you're not even going to follow it? I feel like our new town council has done such a good job at having, the UDO and the checklist to be, but nothing against the developer, but the developer hasn't, there's two obvious missing things. It's the Union County septic approval. You don't have it. And you do not have a stormwater management concept plan. Your concept and your updated plan is completely different than what you gave the residents when we did our town meeting. So I just feel like the town council is working hard, and it just doesn't seem like the planning board or even the town planner or the administrator sometimes, it doesn't seem like y'all are working together. And I don't know if that's a town council issue. Like something's going to have to happen because residents are getting tired of sitting back and going, like, why are we here? If it doesn't check the boxes, and you say that we're not going to do this unless it checks the boxes, then why have us here? Why have this special meeting and have all of us come when we're all trying to plan Christmas and we don't need to be here? If we're going to do it and we're going to say that we're going to have these rules and procedures, and the town council is having the planning board do all these text amendments and do all this stuff, and it's what the residents want, and we've got half of residents outside sitting, and half of them, we've got elderly that are standing, and this is a hot topic. We know that we had 100 people in a building, and we barely had enough even on the agenda. So I just hope you do the right thing and you don't pass this forward. And I would just say that if you look at the agenda for the night and you look at that text amendment, that you remember Luna and you remember the new tree ordinance that and all the trees that were knocked down. So that's it.
All right, next up, we have Joyce Plyler. Joyce Plyler.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to thank you all for serving on the planning board because I know it's not easy giving your time, volunteering, dealing with difficult issues like this. I don't know much about how water perks, but I do know something about corporate incentives. And I can tell you that Toll Brothers will care more about its bottom line. Not making that as a moral judgment. That's just a fact. It's going to care more about its bottom line than it does about the environment, the future of the community, etc. I wanted to, I don't know if the HOA, if there's going to be any responsibility of the HOA in this situation. It sounds like the facts keep changing. But my own HOA just had a meeting at which a large part of the discussion was dealing with the mess that Toll Brothers left us with because of a change in the covenants and restrictions after they purchased our development from the prior developer. So I learned something from one of our board members regarding the fact that HOAs are notoriously undercapitalized and I can give you a site if you would like it, but it's up to 70% of HOAs in the US are undercapitalized. They will have enough money for the day-to-day expenditures, but when a major capital expense comes along, they will not be able to fund it. If you leave this development with responsibility for maintenance to an HOA or any subset of an HOA, like a group of 2 or 3 homeowners, you are going to run into major problems down the road with trying to fund the maintenance of a huge, and this is not just a small thing. This is an important piece of infrastructure that, if it fails, can affect the environment. So please just remember, in making your decision, where are the economic incentives for this company? Do not trust Toll Brothers in what they tell you they're going to do, because they will make a change. They have done it in the past. In my community, they purchased a development that was under a certain set of covenants. When the incentives
Thank you, Joyce.
were against them, they changed the covenants.
Thank you. Lastly, Barbara Schick. Barbara Schick.
Hi, good evening. I'm Barbara Schick. I live at 205 Dornoch in the back of Weddington Glen, the new subdivision by Beechwood. Given our recent experiences with ongoing problems that we struggle with over this project, we would like to state our concerns, not just about this new Toll Brothers subdivision being considered here, but about the aggressive pace of all new residential construction in general. It is our concern that the town staff is not adequately staffed to handle the volume of construction that is being considered and accepted. This has perpetuated a lack of adequate oversight and will continue to allow construction such as Toll Brothers project to continue unabated and unaccountable. The town has not been able to either hold Labella or Beechwood accountable for the extra water on our property from the field across from our driveway. Beechwood has told us that they are walking away and won't help us in any way, and our efforts have failed to step in and make them do anything. And your efforts have failed to step in to make them do the right thing. Given that our advantage point, we have no confidence that as a town, Weddington has the resources to properly address concerns such as traffic congestion, impacts to wildlife, school overcrowding, potential septic and stormwater problems from the alternative septic systems being proposed here. While these septic systems may work fine at first, they can be very dangerous if not properly maintained a few years down the road. The developers won't care that the land that these homes are sitting on won't perk. They'll be long gone before there's an issue. And no one will ensure that the HOAs won't ignore the extensive maintenance that is perpetually required. As a resident that lives below a subdivision that is causing severe runoff issues, I want to protect those residents that are going to be below these septic systems. It is our feeling that while this strategy is beneficial to developers, the results caused by the pace of these ongoing construction projects without consideration for proper staffing, adequate oversight, or proper planning for roads, schools, and septic demonstrates a complete disregard for the implications thrust upon the existing residents. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, I'd like to close public comment. Barbara was the last one that signed up. We'll move along now to agenda item 6, new business. A is the discussion and possible recommendation of the application by Toll Brothers requesting conditional zoning approval for the development of 62 lot conventional subdivision located at near 610 Weddington Road. And at this time, I will turn it over to Greg.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. So this portion of tonight's agenda includes both my staff report and recommendations, Q&A, as well as presentation requested by the applicant Toll Brothers. I'd like to waive my comments and defer till the end of this portion and let Toll provide their presentation first, so they may address particularly some of these citizen concerns, and then I'll provide staff's input thereafter.
Okay, great. Who wants to start with Toll?
Good evening, members of the board. Bridget Grant. I'm a land use consultant with Moran Van Allen, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of Toll Brothers and Robert Price and Ryan Switzer, and several other members of our team are here tonight to discuss this presentation. We have a great team that's been collaborating. Let me see if I can get this to advance. There we go. We have a great team that's been collaborating on this effort for some time. It's some of the best and most experienced in the industry. And when we're looking at this as a preliminary development plan, we have ESE consultants, Kimberly Horns, Wetlands and Waters, McKim & Creed, and again, I'm a land use consultant with Moran Van Allen. I'm going to kick off with just a little bit of information on the site location and then turn it over to Anna Deal Morgan. I think it's important that the Deal family, who was at one time one of the largest landowners in Weddington, have an opportunity to speak about the history of the site and the family. It's true with the Weddington tagline that rural living redefined. Anna will be able to share a little bit of history and evolution, and it's one that dates back to her family, back to the 1800s. So this is our site context on Weddington Road. We've got about 167 acres on both sides of Weddington Road, and Anna will be able to tell you a little bit about the site and history.
Good evening. My name is Anna Deal Morgan, and I'm here on behalf of the Deal family. Specifically, I'm with my 90-year-old father, who is here tonight, and my 86-year-old aunt is unable to be here due to family illness. I'd like to share a little bit about our family history in the Weddington community. Our family has farmed, been teachers, church and civic leaders in Weddington for over 100 years. We've loved the land. We've worked the land. At least we take a picture of that. We've worked the land, and we've been good stewards of it. At one point, my grandfather and great uncles owned over 2,000 acres. These 2,000 acres are where many of you now live. Lake Forest, Hunting Creek, Weddington Hills, Skycroft, and others. Our land is where the 3 A-rated Weddington schools and the Optimist Park are located. After all these years of continuing to try to farm our remaining land, which is what is at issue tonight, the reality is the community has evolved to the point that it's not feasible to farm the land for multiple reasons. There's a difficulty of moving the necessary farm equipment on suburban roads. There's the proliferation of deer that can't be hunted that eat and destroy crops. And there's our own personal reasons. The family has come to the realization that transitioning 175 acres into a neighborhood for 62 families is the best course for us, the land, and the community. We're going to retain our historic farmhouse and the 20 surrounding acres. In no way would we agree to a neighborhood contiguous to our historic home where my father and aunt were born that was not ecologically and aesthetically acceptable. The exclusive Deal Lake community being presented this evening exceeds all ordinances where everyone lives today, and we believe is going to raise your property values. It's very unfortunate that our family name has been misrepresented in social media and print with vulgar emojis, and misleading information has been shared about wildlife protection and state-of-the-art septic solutions. In regard to the eagles, their nest is on our private property. It's documented in the wildlife study that the Arrow Plantation airstrip is a greater threat to the eagles than any residential homes. Further, new state-of-the-art septic systems are far less of a risk to the eagles and the lake than the 50-year-old systems on lots that adjoin the lake already. We have been perplexed at the viciousness of the information campaign directed at Toll and our family. I'm sure that flagrant disrespect for private citizens' good names and the fundamental American right to own and sell private property is not a true reflection of this family-oriented community. We can only assume this campaign is due to a handful of neighboring residents expecting that our family maintain our property, which is adjacent to theirs, to their standards of their choosing and their interpretation at our expense. Their use of eagles and fictitious septic issues to attempt to derail the legal sale of private property for the development of 62 in excess of $1.3 million homes on 175 acres with significant protection of wildlife and woodlands raises this question of self-interest. In closing, I ask this thoughtful community to listen to the facts from the professionals versus slanted social media.
I want to address the crowd one more time. This is the second warning. I'm going to start kicking people out. Let's not be rude anymore. Keep the signs down, face level or below. Thank you.
In closing, I ask this thoughtful community to listen to the facts from the professionals versus slanted social media posts full of misinformation. I reiterate the careful evaluation our family has made. We believe our dear ancestors would be happy to see the thriving family community Weddington is today. We're proud of our contributions to that community and believe that the future Deal Lake neighborhood will be a contributing part of that community. Thank you for your attention and for your time. I'm sure this community is not of the nature that would have civil discord of what I've experienced here tonight.
Okay, Ann.
I'm going to go ahead and try to get us back on track. Again, thank you for your time. I want to get to a little bit of the facts. Zoning, land use, and the proposed plan. As we mentioned, it's 167 acres. The site is zoned RCD, which is residential conditional. And because we're proposing to do more than 6 lots, we have to go through the conditional process. The Weddington Comprehensive Plan identifies this area as conservation residential, and we intend to follow and are in alignment with the comprehensive plan. We began this effort back in the fall of 2023 with the first submittal back in December. It's been a journey, and we've had the opportunity for community engagement throughout the process. We did the required community meeting as well as an additional community meeting, the charrette, the site walk. We've met with neighbors. We've had phone calls throughout the process. And in this effort, we were hoping that we'd be able to garner support from the community as we've made adjustments. They're correct. There are multiple plans out there. That's not completely uncommon when you go through an iterative process with community engagement and get staff feedback. So our first sketch plan back in 1223 did have 93 homes. We were contemplating at the time 15,000 square foot lots with a 50-foot buffer, which was an ordinance requirement along Weddington Road. We were looking at community septic, and while we had no structures within the 330 or 660 eagle radius, we did have septic fields. Based on community feedback, we went back to the drawing board. We revised the plans. We continued to get a little bit further into our site design, and we got down to 82 homes on 40,000 square foot lots. We had a 50-foot buffer along Weddington Road, but we had some additional buffer that we were putting as deed restricted buffer within private lots to give you a total of 100 feet. We had septic on lot with some opportunities for shared. We were staying completely out of the 330-foot eagle radius, but we did have 8 rear yards and some of the SCMs within the 660-foot eagle radius, which is permitted. Based on additional feedback, again, continuing to collaborate and refine where we could, the proposed conceptual site plan that's currently in your packet takes it down to 62 homes on 167 acres, which is under 3 dwelling units per acre. We have a 100-foot buffer, which is completely outside of the NCDOT right-of-way and not within any private lots. We have septic on lot to clear up any confusion. It's septic on lot. We do have some additional fields that are there for maintenance purposes only, and they're deeded individual maintenance areas, but our septic is on lot, and we have no encroachment in the full 660-foot eagle radius. I think it's important to really step back and realize that through the conditional zoning process, Weddington has been able to use the ordinance to raise the bar on traditional form. If you were developing just traditional form under the old ordinance, you would have been able to have additional lots up to the property line throughout the development, no buffer requirements around the site or periphery, and less common and protected open areas. So with the conditional zoning, you can see we get significantly more green space throughout the development. We've also got the buffer that we wanted to just show some examples to show you that majority of the development will be pulled away from, in addition to the right-of-way, you'll have this 100-foot buffer that will be heavily landscaped. We can go into more detail as needed. I think it's important that we take a second and talk about the summary of changes and conditional zoning benefits. I don't typically read slides, but I do want to call attention to we have decreased the number of units from 93 down to 62. This is a conditional zoning, which means these are binding conditions. We have increased the setbacks and roadside buffers along Weddington Road to 100 feet. Again, it's outside of the future right-of-way. We have increased any of our encroachments in the Eagle Protection area from 330 to the 660 radius. We've eliminated shared septic systems and committed to deeded individual panel block system. We've relocated the stormwater ponds away from the existing lake. We have increased the distance between the new homes and the existing lake. We're committed to a double high hazard sill fence during construction at the lake. We have over 78 acres of the 167 acres that's dedicated as open space. And we've made a commitment that we will not have any amenities, fishing, or piers around the lake. I know there were some questions about the TIA, and I'm not going to spend time going into the details of a traffic impact analysis. They tend to be very technical in nature. They're done by licensed traffic engineers, reviewed by NCDOT and by the town's engineers. And I can say that they were agreed upon, and we will be making the improvements that are recommended as part of the land development process. The slides are in there again if someone wants to go in and look at the specific details. We've spent so much time talking about the technical details of the site plan. We've almost lost sight of the fact that this is a land use decision, and there are opportunities for us to talk about the community benefits associated with this proposal. So I do think it's really important for us to let Toll speak to why they have invested more than a year of time into this site and this location, and give some focus to the quality and the benefits that they're talking about proposing for the site. Step away from the technical infrastructure question. We know that those are requirements. They're requirements at the local level, they're requirements at the state level, but we'd like to use a little bit of our time to speak to that. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Switzer and Robert.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan Switzer of Toll Brothers. Appreciate the time tonight. Just want to talk a little bit about Toll Brothers in general. We're very fortunate to have land sellers like the Deal family reach out to us as a builder of choice to help improve their property for the greater good of the community, and we're blessed to have that opportunity to do so. We think we're a great fit for the community for what you're looking for. We have unrivaled choice. We're a luxury home builder, inside and out. We build a very high-end product, and we do a good job of listening to the community. We've had a lot of interaction over time, and we value the feedback. We know that we can't make everybody happy, but we truly respect that, and thank you for the time and commitment to everybody who's been a part of this to help with their opinions. Sorry, this isn't my thing. We will have, because of the style of the community and enhancements that have done here, it allows us to do some larger product, some bigger homes that we have contemplated as design for this community, some new elevations that will blend nicely to the community area, as well as some new color schemes. Like I said, being a builder of a portfolio builder that has unrivaled choice, they'll equate for about 225 combinations of homes with what we have proposed to design here. It's a great diversity. We'll make sure we have dissimilar rules that equal the ordinances of the town in place. Beautiful entrance feature, and put a lot of money and care into that. Besides outside the homes, we also are big on giving personalization to the inside of the homes. We have a design studio experience that we think allows our customers to personalize the house the way they want to, with all kinds of luxury upgrades that will help complement the community. We do have different consultants that we work with. While we don't have a entrance feature designed at the time, we will have some great experts that take time and consideration to make sure it complements this area, and something that the community will be proud of is our communities aren't for the short term. They're here for a long haul. Here's one of the proposed plans that we've developed for this community. They'll have all different kinds of veneers from stone to brick to board and batten to cementitious siding. Here's some more of the ones. Like I said, these are rather large home sites, 40,000 square feet, so it'll afford us the ability to do some really nice large product that we haven't done in this marketplace yet. And same thing, afford options and choice for people both inside as well as outdoor living, with the size of home sites that we have to give the ability to really enhance their living experience within the town. So I think that's all I have, and really do appreciate the time.
I'm just going to finish. And again, thank you for your time. I'm going to leave it in the final slide. A lot of times we go back and we put the site plan back up, but I think in this particular instance, I think it's important for us to, again, to look at the summary of changes that we made. So while reading plans isn't always easy, it's pretty succinct for you to be able to read the summary of changes that we've made since we began this process back in 2023. And with that, our team is happy to answer any questions. We do have a variety of our consultants here. If they're outside, we'll bring them in. Just let us know.
Thank you. Greg, you want to do your report now or after we talk about it for a minute?
The board has spoken. Happy to provide my staff report and slides to provide additional context into this project. Again, let's just start with our guiding documents that we use for any important land use decision, including conditional zoning cases. Up on the screen, you have our zoning map and our future land use map. This is an RCD zoning category, which means that future subdivisions can be developed in either a conservation or a conditional manner. This project began as a conservation development that contained greater than 50% of open space, but in turn had smaller lots, around 12,000, which was the standard at the time. And its noted open space contained a treatment plant or a large septic area, which raised numerous concerns at that time on what that type of system would be and what that land was used for. The applicant, after community meetings, then switched to a conventional type of subdivision, which is what we typically see in Weddington as your 1 acre lots, your traditional lot size. So of note is the transition early on from a conservation to a conventional system. As your site plan will show, this still contains a good deal of open space. But this is consistent with our zoning map as an option of development, as well as our future land use map, and that this density is almost a half unit per acre. So it's not only below 1 unit per acre, it's half a unit per acre. So consistent with our future land use map as well. I think the applicant has gone through this process, but again, I just wanted to have these screens available to you showing that we went from 93 lots, staff review, around 80 lots, additional comments and staff review. Some concerns addressed at that time were that these cul-de-sacs are long. They have numerous lots attached to them. Cul-de-sac led there to the south, directly adjacent to Arrow Plantation, where they'd have a road right up against them. These were some concerns that staff raised to the developer, and they since changed their plans based on that staff feedback. This third change, you can see, largely avoided some ecological sensitive areas, the areas where the eagles were located. Those would be governed by Fish and Wildlife should they be impacted. There was a 330 and a 660 radius around that eagle's nest. And so this design tried to avoid that, but still had some of these design concerns with these long cul-de-sacs and crossing creek areas, which led to this final plan that's before you today, which has been reduced to 62 lots. There's 2 cul-de-sacs on both the north and the south side of the building. That 660 radius is now completely avoided. There's less stream crossings, and frankly, there's less lots due to some unique septic lots that they've indicated on the plans, and I'll get to in a moment. But there's designated open space on this plan specifically for drainage fields for projects. We'll get to how staff feels about septic in a minute, but the larger issue is that we're not the reviewing agency of those septic systems. So I'd like to pertain my comments and staff recommendations to things that pertain to conditional zoning. But I do want to highlight that exhibit, which is in our website and your staff report, available for anyone to view. That is frankly hard to read, but does indicate where these drainage fields would be located, whether they're on lot or off lot, or if the land was suitable based on the suitability analysis provided by the applicant. I highlight that to say there's been questions about the merit of this project coming before you today, and these exhibits and the items made in your staff report speak to what staff is comfortable bringing before you, as well as comfortable making a recommendation of or requiring conditions for approval. The information is before you. It's staff's job not to endorse a project, but to tell you it's code compliance and to provide you all the information you need to make an informed decision. That's what the 7 of you can decide or not decide today. Going into your staff report, again, this middle date was December of last year. So we've been talking about this for over 1 year, and it predates my time with the town. This is about 167 acres on multiple lots on both the north and south side of Weddington Road. So this is a key thoroughfare through town, and leads to some conditions that the town staff would like to place on this project to ensure that it meets the best design principles possible. Again, it's zoned RCD, and the existing land use is agriculture. It's used as agricultural lot right now. So that means that there are some ecologically sensitive areas. There are some wooded areas, but there's also some completely flat areas. And in terms of view sheds and the impact along the roadway, additional plantings would be required to ensure that that 100-foot buffer, is doing what it's supposed to do under the code. Just noting again, this has been a change from 93 to 62 lots, and we have a variety of categories surrounding this property. We have things that are zoned RCD that match this. We have things that are zoned R40, which is our conventional subdivision type, and this development, in fact, meets R40 more than anything in regards to lot size. And then we also have Arrow Plantation, which is zoned R80. So we do not have any other R80 zone properties in the area. So comparing this to Arrow Plantation has much larger lots. This had several community meetings. There was a charrette last year, as well as 2 community meetings around May and June of this year. There's talk of why haven't we had a community meeting since these changes have been made, and the answer is this is a reduction in density, this is a reduction in lot count, and these are considered minor changes under zoning. These changes are improvements from the previous iterations, and it has been staff's time and coordination to make this project better. We don't penalize developers for being less dense and providing more open space. We have them change their product to better comply with our codes. So this is, again, a reduction in density from the first iteration. Your staff report notes all your items of code compliance, as well as items of compliance with our land use plan. I won't go over them in intense detail as you've been provided them well in advance. But I would just note that on the item of lot size, there's some irregularly shaped lots. I noted lot 11 and 48 have some unique shape, quite rectangles. That's due to being outside of required stream buffers. So that's in compliance. You have your most towards the lake and actual floodplain shown here on the southern portion of the site. Previous site plan showed a stormwater measure near that floodplain. That's been replaced with lot 39 and some homes at the end of a cul-de-sac. So that's a significant change, noting that none of these homes are within a floodplain. There is still one somewhat long lot. Switching to a clear view, this cul-de-sac here is long, and we're set to discuss the merits of cul-de-sac length and text amendment here at the end of the evening. But as it's designed today, this is fully in code compliance in terms with the number of lots on it and the length of that cul-de-sac. So it looks long, maybe we can discuss that later, but it's fully code compliant. 4 new cul-de-sacs would be created, 2 here on the south side and 2 on the north. There are 3 connections to Weddington Road. A previous design had 4, but these would be right in, right out as recommended in the TIA, and is fully designed to coordinate with the extension of the railroad extension. I can speak for Labella Associates, and that was their sticking point in delaying TIA review for several months to ensure that this project is done in coordination with the road extension so that these intersections are designed appropriately to the new road. As far as impacts to view sheds and surrounding properties, you can see that there's open space surrounding almost all adjacent properties. To highlight them, this would be considered open space. So there's no homes adjacent to this community. This would remain in private ownership. These lots, which once had houses directly adjacent to Air Plantation, is now designated as open space, as is the entire Eagle Radius. And there's a wetlands and floodplain designated in between these communities here. There's also required connectivity to this vacant tract of land to the north. Requirements for open space, because this is a conventional development, we only require 10%. This project well exceeds that, whether for their own necessity of needing these septic lots or the fact that it's buffering adjacent uses. There's significantly more than 10% of the open space requirements, so they're in compliance there. What I would note is that we've talked a lot about berms, buffers, and roadside areas. Again, this is on Weddington Road. Previous plans had a 50-foot buffer, which was code compliant, but was not staff supported or politically supported. They've since changed that standard to meet the 100-foot full buffer requirement. So there would be a full 100-foot buffer along both sides of Weddington Road. We all have driven past this site, I'm sure, for consideration of this project today, as well as just our daily commutes to Wesley Chapel and other places. There's not a lot of the vegetation along the roadway. So this 100-foot buffer needs to be supplemented by landscape plantings that are in accordance with our UDO. Previous subdivisions that staff has recommended, we've required an actual landscape plan of that buffer and an exhibit as a condition of approval. And we're continuing that requirement. That's above and beyond the code standard, but we think it's necessary for these areas that don't have a lot of vegetation to preserve, that the applicant provide a landscape plan of this buffer as a condition of approval. Lastly, talking about trees, we also are scheduled to discuss our tree ordinance today that everyone in this room can agree is inadequate to the goals of our community. And we, both citizens and other folks have discussed the Luna development, another subdivision by this developer. No one is happy with the trees that were cut down in these past couple months. And so staff also recommends that a tree survey be provided prior to any clearing or grading commenced on site. Our ordinance provides tree protection areas and other requirements. But frankly, a survey of the existing trees is recommended before any clearing takes place, so we know the existing conditions on site and if trees can be saved. Our ordinance talks about areas outside the buildable area should not be disturbed. So if you have a backyard that has steep slopes or existing woodlands, you should leave those trees in your backyard for these developments. And we want this tree survey in order to ensure that those remain and those meet the intentions of our code. So some bad development decisions never happen again. As far as our land use goals, our main goal that we've talked about and should focus on is that to ensure that our land uses abutting residential development are compatible with the scale, intensity, and overall character of our existing and proposed neighborhoods. This does not match Arrow Plantation. Let's just be honest, because nothing matches Arrow Plantation. It does match areas that are zoned RCD. It does match areas that have 40,000 or larger square foot lots. These are at least 1 unit per acre. And so they are consistent with our land use plan. As noted, the 50-foot buffer was not supported. And our transportation goals note that major thoroughfares and key entryways shall be given the highest priority for beautification efforts and corridor design. That's why staff recommends that landscape plan for the thoroughfare buffer. Other goals are in relation to conservation, that preserving open space and scenic views throughout our zoning regulations that require them in both conventional and conservation subdivisions. This provides an excessive amount of open space in relation to our code. This more than exceeds the standards. And in fact, unlike previous iterations, there's significant open space on adjacent or bordering surrounding properties. So we feel this is compliant as well. We have infrastructure goals as well, which is one of the biggest topics that's been discussed about this development proposal for the entire year. So I'll note 2 things. There are 7 SCMs on this last plan, stormwater control measures. Those are indicated with easements as well as their proposed location. And so if there's questions about stormwater methods and if they've been designed, they're clearly shown on the plans in front of you with 7 different ponds. No developer is going to tell me exactly what that size of that pond is at this development stage, but they've clearly provided for the stormwater requirements the town would have. The 100-year stormwater requirement is throughout our code. That's not an exception that can be waived. That's not something staff would support being waived. All subdivisions must meet that stormwater requirement, including this one. That's just a requirement of reviewing construction plans. That's not something that needs to be of concern in the zoning method. They have to do it, period. And lastly, talking about infrastructure, this is a septic project. These are private septic systems. This is not public infrastructure in regards to providing public sewer. The town of Weddington is not a reviewing body of septic systems. And under state statute, we can't talk about preferential treatment for certain systems or certain types. We can't say, well, we'll accept only panel block, but not other conventional systems. We can't say that it was designed incorrectly. That's not the purview of this planning board. So they have provided a sector plan of where they think land is suitable and where those fields would go. If those don't work out and lot reduction is created, say this plan has to remove a lot or 2 because the land doesn't perk, that's a reduction in lot size. That's a minor change under zoning and it's not something to approve or deny a project on. So we want both yourselves and the town council to have the most accurate information you can on if this project is suitable and that they've done their due diligence on making sure this project can work. But to say that these septic systems are inadequate or other people's opinions on septic, that's not a zoning consideration and is not otherwise addressed in my staff report. But I would note that just like our Appendix 2 details, we do need to get copies of those approvals, whether they can do that privately through the state entitled systems that are now allowed, or if it's through Union County Environmental. We do want to see those final plans and we don't want to build anything until we know exactly what we're getting. But that's not necessary at this period of time, in staff's opinion. There are 7 of you. You can also make that decision, whether you have the adequate information you have this time. And ultimately, we are an advisory group that passes this along to town council either way. Town council can decide whether they have adequate information to proceed. They are decision makers, and that's what they were elected to do. So with that, staff provides those recommendations. The landscape buffer along the thoroughfare of 84, that a tree survey be provided prior to land disturbance to ensure that something like Luna never happens again, and that their environmental, though not our purview, is approved by the appropriate body, and the detailed plans are submitted to the town prior to construction. So anybody questioning what's being built out there has the most accurate and up-to-date information. With that, I'm available for questions.
Say that last one more time, that last recommendation.
So the conditions as they're in your staff report are that, as I wrote it, an earthen berm would be recommended and a landscape plan for the thoroughfare buffer shall be provided as a condition of approval. That's item 1. Item 2, staff recommends a tree survey be provided prior to any clearing or grading commencement on site due to trees that have been lost this year, specifically referenced in that report. These are above beyond measures, but are suggested as a condition of approval. And the third, which is at the end of your report, approval of the proposed lots for septic tanks and or wells. That's just standard language from our appendices.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have very many questions, but I did find the letter that we received from, sorry, I know I'm not speaking loud enough. The letter we received from our attorney earlier in the week. I would love for that to be read into the record, or at least presented into the record. I thought it was very clarifying, and I found it very helpful, so thank you.
Would you mind reading it?
Oh gosh, I don't have it right in front of me. Yeah, I bet Karen could pull it up for me really fast. While she's doing that, I want to thank Anna for coming.
I also want to apologize on behalf of Weddington. That does not represent residents or neighbors in the bullying and the ridicule.
Thank you. Well, Anna, our family's been here with you guys for the whole time. I was in high school when Arrow Plantation was built. And the amount of service that your family has provided through the school system, through selling the land for the schools to be built, that, can I just say, way below market value. Those of us who have been here for this long understand that and appreciate that. One thing you did leave out, which I found very important growing up, one of your family members was retired from Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, and the state was threatening to close down Weddington, our little Weddington school. We have 50 people in the whole school. She taught for free so that we could keep our school open for a couple more years. So, thank you. Thank you to you.
Thank you.
Do you have it?
I do. The one I forwarded to you yesterday?
Yes. Can you just read it into the record for us? It's a lot, but I want it in there.
I understand there's been some concern whether Toll Brothers' application is complete for purposes of proceeding with the planning board meeting on Wednesday. Below are my comments. The planning administrator has the discretion to determine if an application is complete for purposes of moving that application forward through the development process. Greg has determined that the application is complete. At this phase of the conditional zoning process, the developer is required to provide the town with a, quote, sketch plan, unquote, quote, for the project. This plan does not include, nor is it intended to include, the in-depth engineering technical detail that will be required if the project is approved and built. Greg has determined that all information was timely provided. While there have been general statements that the application is complete, Greg has only received comments from a citizen that points out 2 areas. 1, drainage, stormwater management, and wetland protection plan. The sketch plan includes the stormwater ponds, the drainage easements showing the direction of flow, and the high points on the property. This information satisfies the application requirement for a sketch plan. Additionally, the applicant has received preliminary information from the Army Corps of Engineers related to wetlands. All of this information will be more thoroughly engineered and put through a rigorous review process should the development be approved. However, the information provided is sufficiently complete for the conditional zoning process. Number 2, Union County Environmental Health approval of septic and wells. The information submitted by the developer indicates that they are going to use engineer option permit process, which by law does not require approval by Union County. Along with identifying that option, they have provided soils report and identified the types of systems and lots that they intend to use. As we have discussed, state law prohibits us from enforcing ordinances related to wastewater systems that have been approved by the state. In this instance, requiring approval from the county is no longer legally required by the developer if it chooses to proceed under the EOP process. They are required to provide notice to the county before and after construction, which happens much further into the construction design process. While we may have some legal arguments on this one, Greg has managed to gather sufficient information from the developer to thread the needle between the town obtaining detail on the septic plan prior to the planning board and the developer consenting to a condition that they obtain approval from the county as the process moves forward. Finally, I believe there is quite a bit of confusion about the difference in required detail between a preliminary plat and a sketch plan. Do you want me to? Bill Dieter called me yesterday to ask me these same questions, and I was able to walk him through the difference between the two and why the sketch plan is intentionally less detailed than a preliminary plat. So you all understand, if the sketch plan is approved, every developer still needs to submit and have reviewed and approved the much more detailed engineered and construction plans and preliminary and final plats, all of which must comply with the UDO and all state and local building codes.
And I'm gonna just put that in plain English. It's on me. It's my decision. The decision was made. It's before you're here today for that decision. I accept all accountability and responsibility for that decision. It's my responsibility to make as the town planner.
Thank you.
Thanks. Who wants to go next? If you're done.
So I had a few things, I guess I'll start. We definitely got a lot of reach out from the neighbors with emails. I appreciate that. Some of them were copy and pasted, so the same kind of agenda felt a little watered down. But I want to give Miss Pratt that spoke with the TIA and caught that it was done on an off-school day. I feel like that is something that could be addressed here for sure as an added condition, as let's see what that is with a active school day and not a day off, because I do believe that is a impact for sure. And then speaking to sketch plan, I had a few notes. So on our lot layout here, in the sketch plan, we've got delineated your stream buffers on all jurisdictional water. I'm assuming there's a couple little things that are pockets of wetlands. So avoiding those. SCMs will also maintain avoiding them with the design. And then down in the bottom where the eagle was, the recommendation on that radius from TAMPS, Waters and Wetlands, is that right? That's correct. Okay, so that radius wasn't just pulled out of the air. That was
it was actually referenced based on GPS as well as reference based on survey. The location.
Gotcha.
What's the difference in the two radiuses?
Would you like me to speak for a
Yeah,
second?
no.
Okay. My name is Chris Heisman. I am with Wetlands and Waters, and I was coordinating with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service regarding the location of the nest. And U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has developed kind of a standard procedure for dealing with eagle nests. And there's two radiuses that they use. The first is a 330-foot radius, and that radius is intended to be preserved pretty much as it is, with very few encroachments into it. And then they have a 660-foot radius that they do allow some encroachments in. There's a standard permitting process. I could go through it, but you'd probably fall asleep. So in short, this has been reviewed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I've coordinated with their Eagle office in Atlanta, and they are satisfied with this concept. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question here?
Chris?
So do you think that based on your assessment, the 660 feet radius will take care of the wildlife preservation, which we talked about with everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything else, Chris?
No, not really. I think his conditions caught the other stuff I wanted to catch with the trees.
Okay.
And the buffer.
All right. One, I do appreciate that everyone is very passionate about this, and I would really love to see engagement from the community continue. I would like for it to become very civil discourse. We can agree to disagree, but we don't have to shout at one another. That being said, from what I'm gathering from both staff and from council is that this project has met the requirements of the UDO, which is the function of this planning board. We're not here to assess septic systems, as Greg has stated. None of us are engineers, at least I don't think, on this board, or lack the qualifications of. That's to be left to somebody else, same as the traffic impact analysis. And I would also recommend that a TIA be done during peak hours on school day. I think that it's one of the things we're suffering from in Weddington right now is a lack of adequate roads, and NCDOT, of course, is way behind in keeping up with those things. The other thing is going to be, I had a question with regard to this. I think you're going to build public water and not wells, or is it what? Is it going to have wells?
It is public water.
It is public water, because I saw the well, septics and wells as a general
Sure.
catch statement in there. So I want to be sure that way it was wells,
Which has been reviewed.
or was public, because that also delineates separation between the wells and the septic systems.
That is correct.
And would you be able to do in the tree survey if that were a condition? Is that
We would.
okay?
Yes, we would.
All right. Those are the things that I had.
I'm going to compound on Rusty's thing as well. I agree that we're an advisory board. I want you to know that my best interest is Weddington. I'm looking at this objectively from plans, not from your feelings. Y'all elected people to vote the way y'all need them to vote. We're here to say, okay, this fit in the box. Here we are to Rusty's thing. We bring it on, but y'all elected people, not me, to vote on feelings and whatnot of y'all's. I just want to make that clear that I do look at these objectively and make sure they're meeting our criteria. And to Kim's point with council, and I don't want to throw them under the bus, but all this can go away if we don't have conditional zoning and put up zoning with our own regulations that know how to play ball when they come. It's conditional. Everybody gets to ask what they want, when they want, and depending on how it goes, it can go one way or the other. So that was my other 2 cents. Sorry.
I think everybody's kind of asked what I have. I guess as far as the houses, is it all custom, or will there be homes built beforehand, like
Spec
homes,
homes.
yeah,
Spec homes.
spec homes, or will it be completely custom? Or do we know?
I can speak to that.
Whoever, yeah.
So our business does have where we will speculate a few homes. When we do speculate homes, we typically option those out more so than what we will see as a home that is purchased by a buyer. Kind of like we touched base on that slideshow earlier where you saw all the different options. So we have an in-house designer that will come in and option that out. What we typically see is options that are somewhere relative to about 250,000 to 300,000. So that still get the appeal of that luxury appeal that you saw that was in the earlier slide.
So you build the window display.
We did, that's correct.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Yep, I agree with with what Chris has said. Like, we are looking at the UDO from the UDO point of view. It's meeting all the requirement, but I have some concern which community also raised, and if we talked about wildlife conservation, that question has been answered. TIA was another concern, which I think we still have concern. I think TIA needs to be redone on the proper date. There was one more concern raised by soil park. Can somebody elaborate what is this and why it has not been done? Maybe from Toll Brother, or maybe if maybe something comes in your preview, I don't know.
Yeah, he stated that y'all haven't actually done the perk test as of.
Greg, you want me to speak to that? Or do you want to? So we provide reports that show that we've actually done the final mapping and the perk test. So what's happened in this case is that we did the preliminary soil analysis. We came back in, did the perk test per each individual lot. What you saw on the septic plan that you saw earlier, what it does is that it shows the designated fills that where we understand what will support each applicable lot. On top of that is what's kind of highlighted in red, gives you a distinction of that square footage that supports for a 5-bedroom home, which are the homes that we will be building within this development.
And understanding, or my understanding is that if these are going to be designated septic fields, they cannot be disturbed, correct?
That is 100% correct, yes.
So what does
And
that
the other thing, kind of point of reference to, just for clarity, we've taken it a step further to the point where you can get a general sense of how do you avoid that disturbance relative to where the house placement is. So if you look at kind of the finite boxes that are on there, that shows you our largest footprint relative to the proximity of each septic field as well.
Gotcha.
So what does that mean, Chris? Is that
So I can expand even further. So where we are today is that we literally could move forward with the EOP submission and then be able to permit. As was kind of stated earlier, we're not at that stage because there's more to come with engineered plans, which then potentially could alter. But essentially today, if we wanted to move forward, we have the information that allows us to understand the soil types that gives us the ability to put septic in this location.
So they have plenty of area.
okay?
Then once they do the fine grading and figuring out, they're going to lose some of that area, but they still have enough remaining to
Do that thing, and they will eventually come to town for the approval with the test also. Okay. Yeah, tree preservation were other things. So tree survey, we already came from staff, so that's something already looking into that. One thing, Greg, like you're saying that when they reduce the number of houses from 92 to 62, they don't need to have a community meeting. What was the status of the septic when the 92 was proposed versus 62? The same or is there something different?
So that was a great deal of confusion to everyone, but that has been discussed and worked through since the initial proposal, which the term that was used on the plan initially submitted to the town was treatment plan. And so there was not clarity on exactly what that system was. There was a lot of conjecture and rumors about what that consists of or what it would be built like. But the simple answer is staff was concerned about it and it was eliminated in a future revision. And so now the information provided to staff is that this would be an engineered option permit or EOP letter, which is included in your staff report for both on-site and off-site systems. And the exhibit above shows what that would look like now. This differs even from the 80 lot count or the 70 lot count, where where houses were once shown, those are now shown as open space because that's where the good soils are. So for example, houses were proposed here because that's where the soil analysis said this is adequate. Those are used as fields instead. This intersection here, you can see there were previously 2 or 3 homes there, and that was amended to reflect the buildable conditions of whether those lots are suitable or not suitable in terms of soil analysis. So there has been significant change in regards to what types of septic systems are going to be proposed. But I still stand by the previous comment. If they're able to be permitted through that EOP process, the town is not in a position to say that's adequate or not adequate. If they get approval for it, they can do it.
Okay. The only thing I'm thinking in terms of the community meeting, that do you think there's a need or there should have been obligation for a developer to come back and meet the communities that this something has changed substantially? There was a lot of confusion earlier about the treatment plan. I remember there was a lot of noise around it. Now we have gone through and eliminate that and coming to the engineering option. At least the community should be notified and given an opportunity to meet.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Right.
Just we don't want to rush this thing through for any purpose. We want to make sure that people know what is proposed, what its compliance is. What I would reference is there's an 11-step checklist or process for conditional zoning cases. It's found in the UDO. These include having community meetings. We've since amended that to say whether a community meeting is adequate. Talks about staff reports, planning board's review and recommendation, etc. There's a statement, sub-item D. In the town council's sole discretion, it may hold public hearings on an application at any time before it takes the final vote to approve. A significant gap between tonight or whenever this board makes its recommendation and when it ultimately gets to town council. This isn't going to town council in January. I say that with absolute confidence. So there's a period of time, probably going to be months, before this actually has the public hearing, the legal public hearing, which is advertised in a newspaper, mailed to residents, and everyone is notified of the vote. That's a legal requirement under the state. So we're not at the public hearing portion yet, where it's the technical legal hearing of the input, but we do have community meetings where the community can provide input. We have this planning board meeting today where people have provided their input, and town council can also grant additional community meetings at their discretion to provide those public input portions, as well as the dedicated public hearing, which results in the vote.
Thank you. And one last point, the transportation goal, sidewalks are not here. So that's, I know we discussed about this, is not required, but what's the alternative you think in this community, in this whole development?
Can we speak to that?
Sure.
Maybe we can expand on the question that's been brought up.
Thank y'all. My name is Laura Reed. I am with Kimley Horn. We're the transportation consultant who performed TIA. So I did want to speak to the questions and comments around the traffic count specifically, and obviously anything else that y'all would like to talk through. What is unique about this site when we are determining mitigation needed for a development, we're comparing a future year background condition to future year build. So in simplest terms, how does the roadway and the intersections operate in the future without the site versus how it operates with the site? And then based on that difference and that delta, we determine what's needed to mitigate those site impacts. And so for this site in particular, we did collect traffic counts on that March 7th date, but that was the basis for our existing analysis only. Obviously, there's a lot of growth and other projects going on in this area. So what we used for all of our future year analysis are the NCDOT traffic forecasts that have been developed for this region, particularly around all of the TIP or those NCDOT projects that are planned. And so In this particular instance, regardless of the date that the counts were collected, the basis to determine whether mitigation was required is based off of those forecast volumes that are developed by NCDOT and kind of a separate entity from the particular traffic counts themselves. We did have some coordination with town staff and Labella, their consultant, as they reviewed the traffic study around that methodology. And that was something that was eventually approved as the TIA was approved by NCDOT and town staff.
The question was about sidewalks.
I think she's talking about TIA before that, not the same.
Yeah, I know, but I thought you were asking.
No, that's what I thought, but that's not the case.
We would like to know if you put curb gutter and sidewalks within the neighborhood. So right now, it just shows the typical ditch type NCDOT minimum standard, but you plan to exceed that with a planting strip, curb gutter, sidewalks. Correct.
Does that need to be reflected as a condition?
It easily can be.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner?
I have a question for clarity, Greg. Where you made the comment, whatever action comes from this, it then goes to the planning board, which will be a ways down the road.
Town council.
I'm sorry, town council.
Yep.
And then you said the town council, based on the UDO, has the ability to call another community meeting
Yes, let me pull that document up
for
again.
input, because I'm trying to,
Not a community meeting, but an additional public hearing. So in order for any zoning matter to pass, you have to have a public hearing where adequate notice is provided,
Right.
mailings, et cetera.
right,
They could have the public hearing one day based on the input they provided or lack of time or any other discretionary method. They could say, we're going to punt this to the next meeting so we can have a second.
have another public hearing. Okay, I got it. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
and so that's as prescribed in code, where town council has the authority to approve it, deny it, modify it, send it back to this planning board, or if they want more input, get additional public hearings.
Okay, thank you. I got a couple questions here. And also I agree, was it Mrs. Pratt? I know she turned in
Yes, sir.
what she had on, were there enough copies to make it down to this end of the table?
There are, yeah.
They just quit passing them.
Taking notes.
The one question I had, and Greg, maybe you can give me clarity on this since you worked with the TIA. I thought Mrs. Pratt said something about a completion date, and I thought she was talking about the expansion of Ray Road. If delayed, an interim TIA would possibly be required. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so not in full detail because I don't have the TIA in front of me, but the TIA was approved through our consultant LaBella Associates in its initial format from a previous layout to the revised format, which was approved by LaBella Associates there for the town in November. The contention when both town staff and LaBella were reviewing the document is coordination between the Ray Road extension and the subdivision. So
Right.
that, these are right in, right out turns. They don't make a lot of sense if you just have to tear them up and do the extension shortly thereafter. It should be coordinated and timed appropriately. And so those modifications made by Kim and Creed and their engineers reflect that. The item of an interim TIA would be required. Whatever our statement says, that's what we approved, and that's what the town.
I guess
endorses.
my question was, if the development proceeds on a schedule, which I expect it would. Now, coming to the government, who's putting in roads, does not proceed on a schedule, then what happens? That's my real question. It sounds like the Toll Brothers is dependent upon NCDOT getting a road in by such and such a date.
We can probably address that. So that was a comment that did come back that we have since addressed with.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that was a comment that was received during the TIA scoping process from Labella. When we went through the first iteration of the TIA, we included just the scenarios with those NCDOT projects. And Labella offered or provided that comment again. And so in the current iteration of the TIA that has been approved by town and NCDOT, we do have analysis for scenario if those DOT projects are in place, what is required, and if those DOT projects are not in place, what is required. So both of those mitigation scenarios are identified and included in the approved TIA document.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's just as
those issues will be
taxpayers.
addressed during the course of your
Yeah.
permitting process,
Yeah.
will they not?
Yeah, and all that's predicated based on timing of what our closeout is. So relative to that build cycle was based on 2029. So if any plans were efficient relative to after 29, that was the other analysis that was just done that she just explained.
So your date is 2029 and the Ray Road date is 2027.
Correct. And the concern was if improvements did not play out and they were delayed as a result of that, what would that look like?
Okay.
And those two analyses have been.
Okay. All right.
have been done.
You should know that.
So,
That road's been on the books since 1991, just so you know.
so, okay, if they're on target and they get it completed by 2027, pigs would be flying. But, okay, thank you. That answers my question on that one.
Actually, the website now says completion in 2032 or 2033.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's the website's said it's even later now.
Oh, okay. All right.
What else you got, Bill?
I'm just going to kind of run through. I got a lot of stuff here. Number one, I appreciate everyone's comments. I mean, it'd be nice to get a little bit more civility. I used to be a mayor, so I've run into that issue. I'm sure many of us have. But I do appreciate everyone's comments and coming out. I'm just going to go run through Greg's list here in terms of there was some discussion of cul-de-sac. That was me. I was concerned about the long cul-de-sacs. Unfortunately, our current UDO does allow it. So to me, it was more of a safety issue than anything else. We talked about terminal vistas. I'm going to go past that. All right, there was a recommendation to add a berm in the landscape plan, and it said recommendation. I think we've said now that is a condition, correct?
Correct.
Okay, make a tree survey. It did suggest that we're saying that is a condition.
Correct.
Okay. I'll be very honest here. In my opinion, working with Toll has been very tough, extremely tough. I know before I got on the planning board, I was asking about a yield plan, and I was told, yes, one had been submitted. Now, I got to admit, this all happened between Robert Teft and between Greg. You know, so none one of those situations of something he inherited. And I thought the original yield plan, the comment was made, it would allow for, I was thinking it was 119. Anyway, I thought it was north of 100, but the good news is we're only doing 92. And then I found out, as near as I can tell, no yield plan was ever submitted. So that kind of raised a few red flags. I'm going to get to tree ordinance later. We're working on a tree ordinance. I'm sorry, I can't work off a laptop. That's why I do these big sheets, and I have them all marked up. Again, I know we have a very weak tree ordinance, extremely weak tree ordinance, but I think what you did over at Luna, even with our weak tree ordinance, was you didn't win any friends in the community. And you didn't win any friends with me and maybe some other people on the planning board. I've since noticed that on this end, what's that, the south end, where you've got your sediment control fencing, there's a big, huge oak tree. I think the only reason you guys didn't take it down is because it's right on the property line. So it was survived because of that. But as of this morning, when it was daylight out, there were no tree protection fences around that. So you're in violation of even now our weak tree ordinance. And I don't think I'm the first one that's mentioned that. You have some other areas in the back. And again, I couldn't match it up with the plan. I'm not an engineer. But near as I could tell, there's a section that goes back that I think is going to go back for your stormwater control. But then there's another wooded section over there. I'm not sure what that is, but along the fringe has got some very large oak trees. No tree protection there at all. You know, I think what happens is, and I realize you guys constantly have to wrestle with stormwater and sediment erosion, and tree ordinance or tree save is an afterthought. That needs to become a forethought, not an afterthought. And this isn't just with you guys, but because you're on the agenda here tonight, that's the reason I'm talking about it. I mean, I would propose a tree survey. Basically, we're going to talk about tree ordinances tonight, but I would basically say that tree survey being completed is a condition to be brought back and shown to the planning board. I know that's pretty stiff, but you guys have a history. And so I think that's the price. Let's talk. I'm not going to talk a whole lot on sewer, but I do have a couple questions. I realize we cannot decide yay or nay on sewer. Unfortunately, that's the strength of a strong lobby in Raleigh that took that authority away from the local municipalities and took it to the state. You got your, here it is, your sewer plan. I just have some questions on it, really, so make sure I understand it. I'm sure everyone else on the planning board understands this, that none of them ask questions, so I'm sure it's just me. So if I understand this right, your areas, it's drawing 1A, where you basically overlay your proposed layout of your lots, and then what I call the areas that are good soil, permeable soil. Am I looking at that right? Okay. So I go through here, and one of your site assumptions says soil testing feasibility study required. All right, that will be provided separately. No more than 15 lots may share septic fields. And what I try to do is I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to count lots that don't have any good soil on them. And like if I start on the, what's that, north or east side, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think. Well, 13 would be if you put it in a drip system. But as I've tried to count the lots without good soil, I think I came up with 25 or 26. So I was unsure how that meshed with your comment, no more than 15 may share septic fields.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think two things. There was an amendment to the actual sketch plan, which actually eliminated that note as well. There's not one shared septic system. So what you see that's in that clustered area are individual deeded lots that segregate and have deed dedication back to the lots that do not show red around them. So each lot that you see clustered will actually have an individual parcel where they're not shared systems. They just have to be off-site.
So example, lot 47, okay?
Correct. Yeah.
Bad soil. So I'm assuming that will be deeded to Bill Dieter. I'm assuming you're going to have one of your areas over here, which will be the offsite septic. And a portion of that is going to also be billed to Bill Dieter, titled to Bill Dieter. Is that correct?
Yes, and I know it's kind of finite here in this case, but if you were to make reference where there's not shown red, call it septic lines that are on those lot 47.
Right.
In that clustered area, there is a 47A that makes reference to that deeded lot that would be.
Okay. That was part of my question. Which lots go to what area? All right, that I couldn't understand. And then, in no instance shall more than 3 lots share one common septic field.
And again, none of that's applicable. So there was an update that was made that we submitted into the sketch plan that eliminated all those notes.
Okay.
So there's not one, for clarity, we do not have one shared system at all.
So-
They're all individual.
Okay.
How much space between them?
So they're obviously spacing relative, I don't know if I have that applicable answer today, but what's gonna happen is we're gonna go ahead and have individual parcels that we go back in and segregate so that you can actually have that deed association for you. But I can follow up with it.
Thank you.
So I guess what we'll end up doing, we'll get updated plans.
So I can kind of speak to some of that. So what's gonna happen in this case is obviously the next step is going back in and just getting an improvement permit and then get an AC. And so those are steps that obviously go through that DOP process. as
Right,
well.
right.
So when you're going through the permitting process, there's 2 steps that get you to the viability of obviously the permitting piece of it.
Okay, because I mean,
So
I was always told unless it's written down, it doesn't mean anything. And what's written down here is not, it sounds like that some of these notes need to be removed or clarified. I just want to do that for your protection too, not just
Yeah, I
ours.
think maybe somehow that information didn't get relayed, but it was obviously submitted back in, removing those couple of notes as well.
But I mean, you guys submit these plans, right?
Yeah, but you may have copied them before they did the revision. Because I'm sure you've been studying these for weeks.
Yeah, we made a revision where it removes that note.
Okay.
Just, we were trying to get better clarity, just so you understood that there was individual septic for each individual.
Okay. I see, got a letter in here. Where was it? And again,
One more item before.
I'm trying to be very thorough here because we have a lot of people that have a lot of questions. And as I said, I don't want to slam you here, but at least I personally have to question some of your integrity. Okay, so that's why I'm looking to be so thorough. Piedmont Environment, your letter here, they talked about, and they're saying I thought they said a CAD drawing or drawing, and I'm assuming that's it?
That's correct.
Okay. And which is what is then on this map here,
Yeah, so
the
what you
bigger
see
one.
there essentially then gets overlaid relative to where the lot conditions are.
Correct. And they reference, a low profile chamber. Is that panel block? What's low profile chamber? Okay, that's what I thought, panel block. Require 1,200 square foot bedroom. Are you planning to do any drip irrigation? Or you
We
don't,
have to
you
do
don't know?
everything Today, we're trying to go ahead and base obviously off of their block.
I notice they say, we recommend that you attempt to minimize the use of drip irrigation. Panel block, if I understand it correctly, does not require operator or quarterly or semi-annual maintenance, right?
It's very low maintenance.
But does it require a maintenance agreement with a septic person?
It does not. It's an individual septic system.
I didn't think it did. I just want to confirm unless it's with low pressure. Okay.
That's correct. It's
All right.
owned by the parcel owner.
And then we talked about gang systems. Explain, a gang system is where you take one of your areas here and you're running three individual lines to, like if I'm lot 45, my line is running to 45A, my neighbor at 44 is running to 44A, my neighbor at 43 is running to 43A. When you say, can you explain to me a gang system?
Just so I don't, because obviously I didn't do this before, I probably lobbied that information over to my subject expert on that. But I would, probably the better way to put it is I'd probably lobby that information over to the person that provided that information.
Okay, I guess my basic, I'll say moron answer I need is it's three separate lines going to three separate fields.
That's usually how it's interpreted.
Okay. And we already talked about system areas cannot be graded under any circumstance, exclamation mark on the letter here. So, and I don't know are any of these wooded areas now, or are they, I know it was a farm, so is it open bean fields or are these wooded areas?
It's probably a mixture of the two. I would say those that are closer to the east side of the project have been cleared. You get to the southern half of the project, there's some trees.
Mhm.
The way it typically works is that those that are in your primary system, you would clear those, because essentially that's where your septic is going to reside. Those that would be for your reserve, they would stay, essentially it's not impeded basically. Impeded by where the house is, they would stay obviously wooded. So disturbance is more so from a standpoint of soil disturbance. So you would clear trees, you would keep the elevation relative to where the septic is undisturbed, so that the satellite or the soils.
So
stay as-
grading refers to, we got an expert over there. Grading refers to not changing the topography, but there will have to be some trees taken out of there just to get the septic in. And I'm hoping you guys will be very conscientious on trees as you do that and not just say wacko and then put them in. Okay. Stormwater runoff. We already heard from a lady, I think it was at Bromley, that had issues with stormwater runoff. That was Beechwood, right? But in terms of stormwater runoff, we're referring to this as a sketch plan. We've already talked, and Karen and I have talked, I've met with her, she sent out the email is, I know there's a lot of confusion, not just on my part, but I think with the majority of the planning board and probably a majority of the people sitting out there. We talk about sketch plan, preliminary plan, and final plan. And actually the presentation from you guys, you referred to a preliminary plan. But I think what we're really talking about here is a sketch plan.
That's accurate.
Okay. And a sketch plan does require less information than preliminary. I have a concern on stormwater from the standpoint, as I look at this, I need a bigger desk. Okay, as I look at this, drawing 2, which you can see I'm a color guy. I've colored in all the septic areas. And I see it wasn't drawing 2. Well, if I look at drawing 3, you highlight the ridge, the high points coming through the farm, which basically are where the roads are following. You're building on the ridge. But then when I look at this, I know where the ridges are, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 detention ponds, storm management ponds. In my mind, showing a ridge and showing 7 detention ponds, I know you guys have to focus on that a lot because of the stormwater runoff. And the UDO, per the sketch plan, requires a stormwater runoff plan. I think Greg and I are a little bit in disagreement on what that means. But if I look at the UDO,
Appendix 2B.
It says, yeah, it's required on TB, but what I was going to say is sufficient engineering analysis to show that the proposed stormwater management measures are capable of controlling runoff from the site. In my opinion, where the ridge is and drawing in 7 detention ponds doesn't meet that as a plan. And I know there's probably some disagreement within here, but
These are permanent ponds, correct?
That's correct.
pardon?
The permanent ponds.
Yeah, these aren't temporary ponds.
So are these temporary or are these permanent? Okay. Let me make sure I've got everything here, and I apologize for taking so long, but this is a very important issue for the town. And, you know, there's been some, I'll call it questionable performance. So, I guess that's all the questions I have. But unless there's any other questions.
I have some. And I
Okay,
think
go
Chris
ahead.
has a follow-up.
I got just one more item. One of the residents spoke about hidden costs for future homeowners. And I tend to agree that with these systems and the unknowns of, are you open to setting something aside to make sure X amount of years homeowners are protected, at least their HOA until, I mean, after you've kind of set sail.
Yeah.
I think that would also show good faith on the, your corporate bottom line too, is they were here. And we would make sure HO has some kind of stability in case we have 15 systems decide to break at once and we can't get HOA to come up with it. So y'all are open to that?
Yeah, I think we're amenable to that. So one of the things that we mentioned in our last community meeting, that question kind of came up before. We have certain bylaws and CCNRs that speak to that. Now be mindful, again, these are individual personal systems, but there's language that says that in the event it's not operable, it needs to be repaired, there would be ways in which the HOA can react that makes it enforceable, that they would have to then go back in and do some type of remediation. So yes, we're agreeable to going back in and having some type of bylaw or some type of language that speaks that the HOA has some enforceability to go back in and
When you're talking bylaws, is that synonymous with covenants?
do covenants, that's correct.
Okay, and it's my understanding that, well, hopefully if these break down, it will be sometime in the future. Covenant, at least where I live, covenants can be changed, I'll say at the whim of the developer until X percentage of the homes are built. In effect, the homeowner has a vote and the developer who owns all the other lots also has a vote.
Well, not at the beginning. So the way it works, at least for toll, is, and for majority of builders, is that there is typically a percentage that it needs to be occupied by homeowners.
Correct.
Where that body then gets turned over to the individual homeowners. For toll, we wait to that percentage is 100%. So we are definitely to the end. And at that point in time, then obviously we elect officials and we turn those rights over to the homeowners at 100%.
I don't know whether this is the appropriate place, but is that a condition?
Well, I would just like something to be addressed and then maybe even be elaborated more by council if this goes further and you actually have plans where you can actually speak to what that protection could be for future homeowners. But I would hate for you to exit the neighborhood 2 years later, we have an epic failure and we can't get whoever installed back to fix what could have been their problem. And homeowners are not going to know whose problem it is, and they could get sold false narratives on, hey, nah, that wasn't this problem. So if you would do something to
Like a performance bond that goes down every
just
year.
to blanket that for a few years after you exit, that gives the neighbors and Weddington residents. I mean, it's a concern, so I think it would help go a long way for the community as well, knowing that you're willing to do some protections that last a little bit further than you leave.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that you typically see in those HOA documents, and let's exclude the idea that it's, significant to septic, there's other circumstances that want to protect the interests of the homeowners as well, right? So relative to kind of what you're describing, we have general language to protect homeowners for that reason. So I think you know, with the uniqueness of septic, there could be similar language that makes it.
Yeah, I don't know if I know what it is today by
Right.
concept, but
Right.
I think once you get rubber to asphalt, we could definitely know
Correct.
a better structure of language for the covenants.
Correct.
So where does that get documented or go in?
Well, first, you need to see some engineered plans to even see what the impact is, but
Yeah, I
they
mean-
have to come to the final plat. The council, well, maybe even us too, right? No, just council?
Yeah.
No final plat.
They won't
council?
come back to us after.
Let me clarify for everyone.
Okay.
This is a zoning case. This is conditional zoning. We require a sketch plan level of detail so we know how many lots and where the roads are laid out. UDO also references that we would like a preliminary plat level of detail where this document can serve as the preliminary plat. The terms sketch plan, preliminary plat, and final plat, those are terms in reference to the document, the actual layout of the lots. In most communities, that's not referenced in the zoning case. You just want to know basic level details. We as a community agreed and codified that we want higher levels of detail, things that are in some of those preliminary and final plat processes to be known or at least discussed up front so that our town council can make a good decision. But those terms, preliminary plat, final plat, those are like engineering document level reviews. Those are technical reviews. Those are beyond the scope of any planning board or town council. No councilman's going to review a final plat and be taking notes on, reference item F, et cetera. Final plat's not relevant to a zoning case.
Final plat's a legal document, right?
And CCNRs kind of fall in that same
Right.
category as well, because typically they're predicated based on what that final record plat is. And until you get to that point of having that final determination relative to CDs and final record plat, it's hard to take that language to describe relative to what those uses are.
But we can, and we would be able to ask that that document be provided prior to final plat.
Sure. And
As a zoning condition.
And I'll tell you this, is that when we move forward with new developments, we develop our own CCNRs, and it typically takes place at that same time as well, relative to record plat approval.
Well, again, to your protection, before we get to final plat, we're saying you would add something as it relates to, I won't call it a bond, but protection against a sewer failure or septic, whatever it is. Well, this is prior to the final plat. That's pretty much, you got everything done. And now we're saying we can't come to an agreement on that issue.
What I'm saying is it would be a condition of this design. So they would not get final plat approval until we have that condition
Okay.
in place.
And just for clarification, we would put language, no different than what we put language in the CCNR today that describes other risks, if you will, concerning, like in this case, septic, but if there's other risks, we put language in the CCRs that protect the interest of the homeowners. And we're definitely amenable to doing such.
Yep. Good condition to have.
You have a question?
I did want to address one thing that some of the folks in the audience were talking about. Maybe that some of the people from the HOA are still here. People were seem to be very concerned about the possible contamination of the lake. And as I stated earlier, that subdivision was put in the 60s, so many of those original septic fields are over 50 years old. And I'm wondering if the HOA currently monitors the quality of the water in the lake. I mean, do we have a baseline on that, or?
I don't know.
As a member of the board, I can tell you that we do. In fact, we had one done this past summer.
Oh, perfect. So we have a good baseline. Good.
Just one other quick question. I know someone mentioned,
Added to real quick, we can make that as a condition that these guys are going to do turbidity testing throughout their project on the pond as
I
well.
think that's a great condition.
Yeah, so I think what we'd like to understand is exactly what are those conditions today? If we could have maybe
Don't
some
worry,
support
you're gonna
by
get 'em.
clarification that can provide that reliability behind that. There's even tests that can be done, bathymetric studies, what have you, that give you that general sense of what that turbidity is today. And then it's always been in our interest to protect our interest, even though that we know that we have a considerable distance from them, that we understand those conditions today, so it does not change over the extent of our construction.
And I'm thinking the same bathymetric and turbidity testing that the city of Charlotte would require for any downstream pond on any project that you would do.
I think we'd be open just to protect the interests of Toll.
I got a couple of questions for you guys. The connection to the north, is that match up the Woods project, or do you know? The stub out to the north.
Lots 25, 24.
How's that tied into the proposed plan that was up north? Do you remember?
It's in the general area,
Maybe that's a condition that we need to consider, make sure those two tie-ins match. Greg?
You're referencing the parcel of land to the north?
Yes.
We have no official documentation of a project up there.
Yeah.
So they have to meet them.
They
Yeah.
have to be done.
Okay.
They have to meet them.
Well, they started construction out there 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
How did they not have anything in writing to start construction?
I don't have a active subdivision proposal for that piece of land to reference.
Okay.
I think after a period of time with no activity, it basically goes away. And for
Our
Mr.
attorney's good with it, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Mr.
I understand the question, but I don't want to reference a subdivision that has no entitlements and may never occur.
They gotta meet us.
All right, cool. I'm a huge proponent of the survey. My question is, if we require it, what's the outcome? We know what trees they're going to cut down when everybody gets mad again, or because they're right now under the current ordinance that the application came in on, they don't have to, or they can't cut them all down.
I would say it's predicated on the future actions of this board, strengthening the tree ordinance in between now and then. I would like something reflected in a condition that they're operating under the current standards, conditions, and rules for tree save. So I'd like to get some kind of condition in there that states we can pause this to get that document so that the future project meets
Would come
future
under
requirements.
that.
And not to get in the weeds, but that future document have like a mitigation factors, not something that, oh, there's 10 heritage trees on 10 different lots. You can't develop those lots now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. that
Yeah, we haven't
after
made
you do the communi- After you do that tree survey, you may knock out 10 lots.
Yeah.
Or greater than that, or it might be relative to the road network. I think, again, there would have to be some type of mitigation or something, given the fact that we, in some sense, have already been grandfathered in, and obviously are being opposed on something that obviously is after our submission.
Would you be opposed to reviewing that with staff and town consultants in order to at
Yes.
least have some?
Yeah, I would, the condition could be that we develop together a tree save plan. After the survey is completed, that would be unique to this site, that could bring in some of the things that we got from the new mitigation that would be particular to this project.
But to your thing, there is mitigations.
Yes.
It's not a, would be an all be all.
Yeah, tree, so we would do a tree survey so that we could develop a tree save plan and a mitigation plan.
Gosh, I like your language.
Where have you been all these years?
Make the motion.
Couple more quick ones. Do y'all plan on phasing the construction, the horizontal construction, or all?
We do. I mean, for us, one of our approach today is we are going to do select clearing and grading. So it won't be one where we're going to do mass clearing. So it most likely will then be predicated based on what we understand our absorption is for that year from the annualization perspective. Today, I think we're insinuating that we're somewhere relative to about 30 homes a year. So it would be relative to, let's call it, somewhere around 30 a year. But there's not a true phasing that exists today.
That's fair, because I know you gotta do a lot more engineering on just.
Yeah, and one of the things that's gonna really drive that is that since we're not doing mass grading, then essentially it's predicated based on how do I balance from one that has cut versus one that has fill to support that that obviously does not impact septic.
Or stormwater measures.
Or stormwater
Yeah.
measures, yes, correct.
I like 7. ponds on such a small site, relatively speaking. I mean, it's not a whole lot of water going to each pond and less chance of a catastrophic failure with the water volume. I should know this, Greg, but does Weddington have a lighting ordinance?
Yes.
So many lumens per foot?
I was going to mention that. We have a protect the night sky ordinance that the lighting, basically it directs that lighting down. I'm assuming it's still in the ordinance. It was before the new one came through to protect, basically to protect night sky. I mean, I can sit in my back patio and I can see this, I can see the stars at night.
Watch the drones. No.
Just to summarize that, we have lighting standards. So when lighting is implemented, it has to meet those requirements. We also don't strictly require street lights as
what
more
I was getting
urban, type of communities would require. So
I was asking about streetlights. So
they can make that determination whether that's appropriate, and the board can determine whether that's appropriate.
you plan on putting streetlights out? Deep?
Well, I think one of our concerns is obviously, and we hear this a good bit and quite a few other developments for the safety of the homeowners. They like some type of illumination. We obviously would adhere to whatever those policies are that the town of Weddington has. The way it typically works is that if we don't put private streetlights in, we work with
Union Power?
Union Power in this case, and essentially they typically have a photometric plan that shows exactly what that illumination is. And then obviously it would then correlate back to what the policies are of the town of Weddington.
And they would put those lights in per the town's lighting ordinance.
And they would be restricted to that county ordinance, that's correct.
And it's unfortunate, but in today's time, it's like with those frequent house invasions or whatever that's been happening.
Well, I see streetlights as a public safety issue,
Yeah,
versus
that's
going
something
totally
that-
dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
That bites.
That's all the questions I had. Anybody else have a follow-up?
No. I guess everything fits in the box for me for now for recommendation. Staff recommends. So now I want to try to compose this list of conditions as Karen
I
does.
wrote some down.
You can come see
Sorry.
her.
I might have to have her speak for me. So I'm going to recommend for approval with these conditions, a landscape buffer plan be provided for staff and consulting review. A tree survey be provided and worked in unison with our staff and our consultant to devise a tree safe plan unique to this project
Prior to grading.
prior to grading. The, looking here.
Can't read my writing.
Yes, that we're gonna have curb gutter sidewalk throughout the proposed subdivision. The approval of septic, is that where you were saying our language to protect?
They want to have the approval from the state prior.
Oh, yeah, prior to any approval of septic from the state prior.
Prior to
Prior
construction.
to what?
Or I think if we're gonna go with the EOP process, the way it works is everything is predicated based on what the state regulations are. But if you do EOP, there is a notice of intent that then gives that authorization that is reviewed by the local municipality. So I think there just needs to be some language by
Yeah.
whoever the
Karen.
authority is.
Yeah.
So, approval of septic system or an EOP, I can't remember, right? The EOP, approved by the county, so the notice of the county has accepted.
Correct, which would be the notice of intent.
The notice
Which
of
is
intent.
approved by
county
the county.
accepts
Is
it?
that communicated to the town?
No, we're gonna ask them to do that, so they're gonna
Okay.
provide that for
We can
us.
provide it.
All right.
But that the state sends it to the county and not EOP, or goes straight to?
It's straight county, it's a county process.
Okay.
Got that, Karen?
Yeah, and then Joel will bring it to us. Okay, yeah, I got it. Thanks, Chris.
And then provide CCRs prior to final plating. Is that right, Karen?
Yep, that
Karen too?
relate to, performance of septics and HOA or developer responsibility for repair maintenance.
But
Get that, Karen, one?
But who is going to review that, like CCR is compatible with the feature?
Prior to approval of final plat. Right.
No, but who is going to approve that? CCR?
That will be going
Town
through,
council.
yeah, staff and,
Town council?
staff and consulting,
No, but
but it would be on staff.
It'd be an administrative procedure that would be signed off by staff.
But don't they do it for every CCR or is there something very specific? Because we are looking for very specific CCR in this case that should take care of the future of this community in case we go that route.
This is above and beyond our standards. We do get copies of existing CCNRs,
So
and they're filed with the Union County, Register of Deeds Office.
The town does not, it is generally not involved in
Right.
any overseas.
We don't craft it.
But this is something
What
we're
is the use of this?
stipulating to be in the CCR.
you are saying something, it will never be implemented. It will bypass.
He's just saying he wants a copy before.
No, but the thing is that his point was that how you're going to protect this neighborhood in case something happen.
Yeah.
And they will provide something which does not say anything and town has nothing to say on that thing. How do we make sure that is enforced?
Because we will not sign the final plat until we agree with the language.
I agree, but town is not ready to approve anything. Town is saying that.
They're going to approve the
The
plat.
plat.
Mm.
They have to approve.
They can't get final,
Approve the
final,
plat.
they cannot get
Okay.
final inspection approval.
Or sell a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else you got?
And then we've got some type of bathymetric survey or turbidity testing throughout the project. And can we compose some language around that at a later date, or does it need to be specified tonight?
I think,
Later date.
yeah, we've got time between now and council, and so we can pitch that.
I can-
now and then.
I can provide
That'd
that.
be awesome.
What is that survey for?
During,
To monitor the pond, to
Pond.
make sure they keep the pond clean and
Okay.
as it is when they start without their project.
How about TI?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, good idea. A condition to include a TI, updated TIA, or did they answer that?
Well, that's good with it.
That's been good. That's
Been
been,
done
Yeah.
already.
But I thought we really were looking for.
but does the difference make a difference from school hours?
Yes.
You want to speak to that again? I don't think it's.
That was the
based
original.
On that school.
Yeah,
or
so
so on.
it was, sorry.
Well, we know what the school does.
Yeah, so all of the analysis was based on that forecast, so we could go out and collect new counts, but all that future year analysis would still be based on the forecast data. So it would not change the results of the study.
I'm gonna trust the expert on that.
anything else?
Good with that one. That would be the list of my conditions. Anybody else?
6. So there's 6.
And maybe it's not a recommendation for staff, but for the town, maybe council. I mean, we don't want to come back, but I think if there's possibility to have another community meeting. If council wants to consider that.
You want to put that in your motion?
I kind of disagree with that because,
There's a public hearing.
yes,
option.
council option, but the other
That's
thing is,
council's option.
I think it's important that we
We're just,
not penalize people for making the changes that the public requested.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, they have had these meetings and people said, this is what we want, da, 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 and they implemented those changes for the most part. And so I think we leave it to council.
yeah, I agree.
Are you finished? You got it?
You done?
Should we,
All right, so.
public comments closed? I can't.
Yeah.
well,
Back
I'd
up.
like to make a motion to,
There's a motion on
There's
the
motion on the floor right now.
there's a motion on the floor right now?
That's what we've been doing, yeah.
What's the motion?
Oh, my goodness.
Was the motion What-
It was already finished.
with these conditions?
Okay, I'm gonna second that, but I want to make a statement prior to the second. We have a lot of folks in here that are not happy with us moving through. And it's about to go to a vote, whether it goes through or not. If you are driving down the street, Deputy Wren over here cannot give you a ticket for doing 40 in a 45 zone just because he thinks it should be a 35 zone. By that same metric, we're bound by what we have to work with in the UDO. Now, the UDO is going under revisions right now. So we do understand that, but until this UDO is revised, we are limited by what we can act upon. So with that, I second the motion for approval.
Before we vote, Karen, can I make an amendment to the motion? I think I can, right?
Yes. You can propose an
I'd like to make an amendment to suspend the rules so we can see what these 2 or 3 people had that had their hands up. Well, the amendment's out there. It's got to be voted down.
We're not doing that.
Okay,
The
amendment's down out there, so we do have to vote.
The amendment's on the floor.
Okay, so we're calling for a vote?
The motion's on.
Well, I need a second.
People
have a right to speak.
And you have.
Hush, hush.
So
Is there-
I'm voting on the motion first, since it's
Yes.
on the floor.
The motion on the floor right now is to suspend the rules so these 2 or 3 people that had their hands up can say what they wanted to
Karen.
say.
Huh? He seconded it. No.
No,
No, no one has seconded the amendment.
Yeah, we're looking for a second,
You made the motion. and I seconded it.
but we're looking for a second to the amended motion I put on the floor.
You didn't get one.
Okay, then that amended motion's gone. All right.
All right, so I have a motion on Chris.
Not one.
Chris has a motion on the floor. Rusty second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So what did you vote?
By the time I said yes, he said all opposed. I did not.
So you're opposed?
I mean,
You're in?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, would you redo that, please?
Yes. Chris has a motion on the floor for approval with conditions that have been listed prior. Rusty seconded. All in favor, say, raise your hand.
Really high. Okay.
All opposed? Motion passes.
All down green ponds. All ponds. Gotcha.
Can we take a little recess?
Yeah. Karen, can we take a little 5-minute break? Yeah. Can I get a motion?
Motion to take a 5-minute break.
Have a second? All in favor?
5-minute recess.
What are you saying to me? Yeah. Are you?
Ben, tomorrow, and I have not had the thing. Leave at 11:30. I'll be up all night. The laundry is 90% done. It's just sitting in a chair waiting to be done. And it's Christmas, so I figure mostly jams anyway. So, and I thought, oh my gosh, because then the next meeting's gonna be, and then it's Christmas. Holy moly.
Yep.
It's nice to see how many people are interested in the rest of the goings on in the town.
I have to say, when I go to the meeting or whatever, I never did that.
Right, yeah.
What are we doing with this one? What should we take?
All of it. Well, we can do, let's do the schedule. I think
We'll
we
do
know,
the schedule.
then we know when the next meeting is. I think we move November and December because they're both.
I don't care because I'm out of here.
Did you hear that,
February's my last.
What?
You know they will. No, yeah, you elect new officials. You're actually chair.
Let's get this show on the road.
Beginning of March.
I didn't eat before I came. I didn't have time, so I was sitting in my toaster ready for me to eat.
All right, y'all will send back. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to our agenda. Still under new business and on letter B, discussion of possible recommendation text amendment for tree requirements. Some of you have approached me individually asking if we would table that till next time. I could go either way on that. If anybody wants to make a motion.
I would, Mr. Chairman, because I got to say, I got to be walked through this. There are a lot of things that I didn't understand about it. And some of the things I went, what? And then I saw what happened with the other subdivision. I went, so it was sort of
With
sticky.
Luna?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Luna. And so, I mean, I was really not in favor of some of these stringent things. I mean, a 6-inch diameter, that's a Coke can of a tree. I mean, your Christmas trees in your house have a bigger diameter. So someone's got to walk me through it.
Okay.
And I don't want to do it tonight. So if we could table it, I would really appreciate it.
All right.
Make a motion, we table.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
I'd love to see us, rather than wait a month for the next planning board meeting, do we have a special meeting? I think this is pretty important, just trying to get ahead of what we've seen at some of these areas.
How many of us can meet at the same time?
Pardon?
How many of us can meet at the same time to talk about it?
Well, that's why we find out.
I'm out of the country.
Oh,
Three of you.
3 of you at a time, unless you call a special meeting and then you can all meet.
If we could set a meeting, I could, and I'd mentioned this to Greg, possibly having the urban forester here. Chris and I met with him, and basically, I would say he's the author of this, based on some discussions we had with him.
You can
So,
also meet earlier on, on regular meeting day if you've got, if you want to meet at 6. if there's-
Or let's look at the agenda, like if it's not heavy agenda, then we can use a regular meeting, but if it's heavy, then I prefer to have a separate meeting or a prior, 1 hour before, that's fine.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
Let's do that. Mhm.
All right. C is approval of the 2025 meeting calendar.
Yes, that's the one I have.
We need to change the December 22nd date.
And-
Exactly.
Why don't you look at that and look at the Tuesday meeting in May, if you wanted to change.
May is fine.
And
The
November, I think. too.
November also we should think about, because November is falling at the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's Monday of the Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, I think both of them, if we just move them a week earlier.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, week is fine or you?
Yeah, November and December.
Mhm.
Even a week earlier.
So I'm assuming May the 27th is Memorial Day.
Yes.
I'm definitely absent.
No, May
Well, it's-
26th is a Memorial Day.
Oh.
Tuesday is the.
yeah, this
The
is,
meeting has
Oh,
been
yeah,
continued.
good for Tuesday.
You're not gonna be hungover? You're not gonna be hungover?
It'll be fine by the evening.
You guys are terrible.
I'm picking.
so did we keep the 27th?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you want it on the 17th of November
Yeah.
And
and the
15th of
15th of December.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Do I have a motion as amended?
I make a motion to make the change the date for November and December as discussed.
Okay. Do I have a second? Nancy, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
So the December date becomes what?
December 15th.
15th? Thank you.
I'll send out calendar invites.
Okay.
So everybody has it.
All right. Oh, number 7, old business discussion and possible recommendation of text amendment for lots in the floodplains.
I'll address that, Chairman. I met with our mayor and Councilman Smith on Friday regarding this matter. We've discussed at 2 previous meetings that we didn't necessarily see eye to eye, or there may be unintended consequences of the original drafting. I've promised to provide 3 alternate text amendments that would accomplish the goals that those 2 council persons shared, what they're trying to do, that will hopefully not infringe as much upon private property rights. So I'm asking that we table this amendment until staff can provide my 3 recommendations.
Okay, before we table it or make a motion, I'd like to ask Karen Hurt if the new General Assembly legislation of last week, if lots in floodplains and taken away, what was it called? Down zoning, does that put the town in a hairy situation potentially?
So here's the deal. Say a single lot, for example, if that single lot is down, does not have 20,000 square feet or,
That's an acre,
an
essentially.
acre and
Buildable
it's a buildable area. And we render that lot valueless because you can't build a house on it because it's got too much floodplain. Yes, that is down zoning and that's illegal. And we
Okay.
can't do that without the consent of the landowner who will never consent to do it.
Okay.
So, in a big project, it's gonna be just moving the houses around. So maybe that is not necessarily a down zone. No, I literally was on the municipal attorney thing yesterday, talking about this.
Mhm.
No one really knows, but everybody's really worried about it, very worried.
My understanding was as long as it was in the development process, we have the right to set those kind of guidelines in a bigger picture, but it couldn't be itemized on an individual level of.
Well, this is why in conditional zoning, they can agree to anything. So
Correct. They gotta get rid of this.
So
I agree. I agree. We got to get rid of it.
I get rid of it.
To be one and done.
there's pros and cons, but anyway, no one really knows what's gonna happen, even in the by right. So if you wanted to, we had conversations about creating an agriculture district where minimum 3 acre lots, minimum 5 acre. That is off the table now completely. We could not plan for that. We could not do that. Changes that reduce the size of the lot, if there's still, you can still put a house on it. For example, you require a 100-foot buffer rather than 50 foot. If you can still get the same number of units on that lot, that's not a downside. But,
Right.
you know,
It's
it's
kind
not.
of gray area.
So anything that we do modify going forward, because of that bill, we're gonna have to be.
Diligent.
Yep.
It's, I mean, it's awful.
Super-
I don't know, there's already talk about technical corrections to
Who
it
sponsored
because,
that bill?
I don't know the answer.
I'll tell you one of them, your senator.
Todd Johnson.
What bill is that? Do you know?
SB 382,
SB 382?
page 131.
It's the very last-
We're all very aware.
Read it once or twice.
Really, I mean, and you all, like Weddington is just really one zoning designation. But like lots of towns and cities are trying to, improve these old industrial areas by making them get cleaned up, by putting sidewalks in, and now you can't do any site condition on a commercial site, they have to sign off on it. So we're now the government's lost control over over rezoning commercial properties. It's humongously impactful in most places, so.
Is that potentially going to impact Prolifica? Because they had a clawback too, didn't they?
The zoning category wouldn't change, which
Right.
is custom and conditional.
Correct.
Yeah, so he was still, again, if you're going through the conditional zoning, they can agree to whatever they can agree to.
Karen.
So that gives us a lot more flexibility.
Karen. Gotcha. All right, so
Okay, who needs Todd Johnson's cell phone?
let's do that when we close. So do I have a recommendation or to table A?
Recommendation to table that item until next meeting.
Thank you.
Until his staff.
Until he can, until he can revise.
Next meeting, fingers crossed, but yeah. Let's be.
So Greg is ready.
Till Greg is ready.
Greg can provide 3 version.
All right, I got a motion from Rusty. I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Old business B is discussion possible recommendation text of cul-de-sacs. Is this going to be a lengthy discussion or?
So I'll introduce the topic. Bill was instrumental in putting it together, so he could probably comment on the technical details. This was an item that went to Town Council's Planning Subcommittee to draft this exact language. So this exact language in your packet is as it was provided by the subcommittee. To summarize some of those items again, this is what we previously proposed, just eliminating the closest language. That was staff's recommendation. I don't know. I guess I didn't include the actual language here, but it's in your packet. So this text amendment in summation changes a few things under subsection J, cul-de-sacs. It changes the cul-de-sac length from 1,200 linear feet or 16 dwelling units to language where it shall not exceed 500 feet. And it also adds language that says dead-end streets designed to be permanently closed are prohibited. So be cautious of the language there. There's language under number 2 that says a sign will be required to be posted on a cul-de-sac if that's designed to be an extension. This is AKA like the Weddington Glen clause, so that people don't think that they live on a
Weddington
cul-de-sac
Glen
that's actually
clause.
designed to be an extension.
Can I just say, that's kind of a failure of the realtor, for heaven's sakes. Why can't people just take personal responsibility?
Agreed.
It is, but
I mean, do people not do due diligence anymore?
no.
Yeah, sometimes now.
If
they
they're
see
good,
the
they
fire.
do.
Or some,
Excuse me.
No,
If they're good, they
no,
do.
I was talking about the buyer.
Well,
Why would the buyer ask that question?
well, the buyer might ask the question, is this going to be connected? And the seller might say, no.
well, sellers are morons.
Huh?
Moving on.
You think?
There's also language in there that states, quote, no system of multiple branching cul-de-sacs from a single junction within a connected street network is permitted. So if you're asking clarification on that statement, talk to Bill. On item 4, it says it previously talked about the closes. We're now saying that those are permitted in private streets, because in public streets, we can't govern street design. This still may not necessarily solve the issue in staff's opinion, because we require private streets to be built to public standards. So we're saying now that closes could be done on private roads, but again, our private roads need to be built to public standards. If DOT never will allow these, then they'll still be excluded, but at least this strengthens the language to should to shall. And then there's also some language about monitoring gates and getting yearly updates on those. That's an administrative nightmare. Subcommittee and I both agree that that's not a task that is a priority for staff, so that language be removed. So those text amendments are in your staff report. You may recommend approval with additional conditions, or make any decision thereafter. But again, I do want to give the floor to Bill if he wants to clarify any items.
We did talk, and maybe that needs to be incorporated in here, as we talked about Knox padlocks. Someone brought that up. And I mean, that's up to the council if that wants to be incorporated in here. That's really more of a
We should not padlock. We did talk about Knox lock.
Knox lock.
Knox
Okay.
lock.
Yeah.
Otherwise
For the
known as
secondary
a master
entrance.
key for the fire
Right.
department.
Right.
For gates.
Correct.
I'm sorry. I'm going to need to be walked through this a little bit. What is the deep concern about cul-de-sacs, because the length of them? Because I look at some of the subdivisions we have, or Highgate being one of them.
Yeah.
With a mile of.
Yeah.
And so we required them to put in that emergency gate,
Right.
which is not maintained. You couldn't drive a fire truck through there if you wanted to. I brought it up before to individuals on council, but also in this body. Who does, if we're going to scratch that out about how they have to maintain or submit, if we're going to delete that about whether their emergency gate works, then who is responsible for that?
I think our zoning person should be responsible for making sure it's maintained.
Well, we took it out. Could we say the fire department?
Well, we can leave it in there. I mean, they're not sending in reports.
Have you
I
seen
mean,
how well they're taking care of the fire hydrants?
Oh, yeah, well, sorry.
Yeah, that should.
The HOA should do it, but they're not doing it.
Well, let's back up for a second. What do you need to maintain? It is a steel post planted, or 2 steel posts planted in the ground.
It's overgrown.
With the two arms that come across. If it's not falling down and it has a Knox lock on it, it's maintained. It'll operate if the fire department comes up there and unlocks the lock.
The problem is
The
their
landscape.
landscaping has grown over it. The other thing is occasionally someone parks their RV in that cul-de-sac.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's
actually
an issue. But the other could be we simply say you got to have a cleared buffer around that. Clear
Okay.
maintained buffer.
Yeah, and I still think a lot of that's going to fall on the HOA.
Yeah.
And if
but-
it's in their CCRs, then you can penalize to a degree. stop.
You could do a civil penalty because you're blocking access.
Correct. Then they would stop. And if it goes unenforced, it's.
Yeah.
And also, I think this cul-de-sac lengths, like, we're not taking over roads anytime soon. So why are we in the business to try to tell DOT what we're going to build in this town? DOT allows it.
We're not telling DOT. If you look at the land use plan, one of the elements, and I'm not sure which one it is, talks about connectivity and I'd have to look up the wording, but every municipality from Davidson to the north down here has cul-de-sacs at, well, we're talking 500 feet. We'd be at the high end, with the exception of Union County, which is 1,195 feet.
That's the county.
Pardon?
That's the county.
That's what I said, Union County.
I'm for, I would never argue against a higher standard in this community. And 500 feet would do that. And most municipalities that even the ones we researched that have, I don't even want to use the word well-to-do, but that higher quality of standard, they have a shorter.
And they're 400 to 600 feet.
Yep, 400 to 600, so we kind of met in the middle, just 5.
I guess my concern would be, I can see how if you have a big tract of land that you could maneuver around that. But if you have a long skinny parcel, there is only one,
We're still conditional, so they can still bring something. It's a unique situation. But let's just get the standard put in there so that everybody looking to groom the project and starting to sketch is trying to check off stuff to not have problems.
Here, this might take care of you, Nancy. Cul-de-sacs designed to be permanently closed are prohibited and can only be used when topographic conditions and/or exterior lot line configurations offer no practical alternative for connection or through traffic. So all that's saying is instead of, well, here, if you take Marvin and Davidson, they start off saying cul-de-sacs are prohibited. But then they say in the very next breath, 250 to 400 feet. Wesley Chapel, Waxhaw, Matthews, and Weddington says cul-de-sacs are discouraged. And then we say there's exceptions. If a developer sees discouraged, they interpret that's allowed. So you start off with prohibited. That's the mindset we want. But then there are exceptions, like your point, to topography, stuff like that.
If you look at a broader picture of what Weddington's property really looks like, we only have a few properties. So the ones that are going to come up are going to be obvious unique situations versus like what we just had come up where there's plenty of room to build a quality. And again, I'm on the side of being a surveyor. I don't want to see just a pack and stack because you can do pack and stack. I want to see a thoughtful community. I want it to be thought after and it actually be a community and neighborhood. So
what about
again, 600 feet is kind of probably the norm. 400 feet was aggressive. The 1,200 feet was.
Yeah, I think it should be at least 600 with the large lots that we have then.
Or maybe like a minimum number of houses. It's like if it's over 500, but there's 5 houses, then it doesn't matter.
Well, 500, what did we say, 500 feet?
Yeah.
500 feet would give you, what, eight homes?
No.
4 on each side.
4 on each side, yeah. And if you go
It
to,
promotes a bigger lot too, I'm telling you.
yeah, and if you go to conservation, which is 100, they'll give you 10 homes. I mean, I agree with Chris. I mean, this 1,200 foot, and again, if the topography doesn't allow it, there's an exception in there. But don't come in with a plan that you automatically go there.
Yeah, but at 600, you get a lot on each side automatically instead of having to go through a condition, which might make or break.
Well, everything's conditional. That's what I
But
think.
that's right. Yeah, I'm saying a item on the condition.
And if we're setting the stage for these people to look at something at a higher level or a more stringent, then it sets the tone they need to meet these things or they're going to have headaches. Legitimate planning board headaches, not, everybody comes here when the planning board votes something down tonight as if we were the elected officials kind of thing. This will set it up so that we actually have teeth on who's bringing what, when, and where.
So this is a safety issue. Someone's gonna have to sell this to me.
It's not just a safety issue. It's you use the right words. I can't remember what it was. Building
Aesthetic?
community or
Well, how,
Like, just
see
making
what
a community versus a pack and stack. Why do you need a 1,200-foot long cul-de-sac?
well, okay,
Just as a
so,
regular, so that everybody can bring in the 1,200.
okay, so let's say that long street with the cul-de-sac, let's say that it's a connector street. How is that changing the neighborhood?
Well, Connector Street couldn't be a cul-de-sac.
I know, but what I'm saying is, if you had a long cul-de-sac like this, 1,200 feet, and you're saying you don't want this because it doesn't build it's a pack and stack and doesn't build a little community here, but if that's now gonna be a through street, it's the same.
Well, if it goes to be through street, it doesn't count. It's not a cul-de-sac.
I know that, but what I'm saying is that
But if
if
you
it
plan
was a-
this, and we've got all these people, and I'm not saying this happens, but this happens. Everybody's parking on the street. There's everybody around both sides of the road, and you've got so many. Where if it's just a smaller, then you've got, it's just a lot less impact in the road. The kids are playing basketball, not in a huge cul-de-sac because, again, just because we can have a 1,200-foot cul-de-sac. And when you see some of this and you go down to a 500, from engineering standpoint, you will force an engineer to have to value engineer something. They are not wanting to build roads to not service a line. So now there's thought behind actually what they're having to do, thought behind their layout because they're constrained. It's not that I can just come in and put 1,200 here, let's go 1,200 over here, let's cul-de-sac this thing so it looks like a blossoming flower. It's kind of plays tight and it preserves our land. It will. And not all be roads.
Well, what was the thought process to go from 6
What
to
was the
5?
council's?
Like,
what was
if
the
you have
council's
6 and you
concern?
automatically have 5
I mean,
lots on each side.
I think cul-de-sac length used to be like 400 feet. And somewhere during, and I don't want to say it was during COVID, but
Before that, because something happened.
yeah, because I was, yeah.
I think it was a development that.
Highgate has-
But it's a big change.
They have a
It was
huge
before
amount.
the,
Again, conditional stuff too. Anybody can propose anything they want.
I mean, I think even Arrow Plantation has cul-de-sac, doesn't it?
Well, I would say every place we
Yeah.
have has a cul-de-sac. The
Yeah.
question is, and
And
we don't have,
500 met in the middle of.
we don't have a
the
problem with
most
a cul-de-sac.
restricted
We're just
they're
saying,
kind of-
don't make it over 500 feet.
I guess I don't understand the concern about that.
Okay. Let's try.
Let's just focus
let's
strictly
move
on
on a
the
little
safety
bit.
concern then.
The thought behind stemming the cul-de-sacs from a single junction. So you can't have 2 cul-de-sacs.
Like coming off the same intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's, again, I don't think they do that. That's
That
What about like your house or your neighborhood where it goes both sides of the?
correct. That's what it would stop. That's correct.
That's what it would stop.
Yep, yep. You would stop the intersections where every clover is a 4-leaf clover kind of thing. It's not what it-
That was lifted
It's a-
from the
it's a
Wesley
shamrock.
Chapel and I think the Davidson UDO.
And again, if you've got a unique situation and you're bringing us conditional stuff, you have the right to.
What's the
to
point of-
show your hardships as to the reason why you would do this versus,
What's the point of taking that away? What?
I can't say that I got a point other than increasing our standards to.
It's
Even
not to
if-
say that
even
I
if
could
it's-
go one house down and do a cul-de-sac here and one house down to a cul-de-sac there. I mean,
Well, NCDOT, I think, is gonna have an intersection separation,
yeah.
so, but to your point, yes, you can start popping them off like the little. But again, I don't think that would be the standard nor the level of design that Weddington would be looking to engage in.
I'm kind of with Nancy. I don't see what the point of that sentence is.
I kind of lean with Chris on that one because I understand that from an engineering standpoint, you're forcing the engineer to get creative rather than just turning them loose with a set of crayons.
Exactly. Exactly. That's one element, yes.
All right. Anybody else have any discussions? All right, do I have a motion?
I move to accept the proposed ordinance as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
All opposed? All right, it passes. Moving on to number 8.
Well, I don't think the chairman votes unless there's a tie.
I'm just showing you what I thought.
You can always say for the record.
For the record. All right, update from the. Just untie us.
Chairman, only in case of tie. Only in case of tie. He will come. Yes.
All right, update from town planner and report from November.
All right, it's past 10 o'clock. I wasn't there. I had a very infectious flu illness, so I can't.
I watched it online. I mean,
There was a lot of people. I know
yeah,
that.
yeah. All right. Board member comments? Start with Bill this time.
We're just commenting to each other. The crowd's left. I thought, obviously, this was a very hot topic that we covered. We had some people get nasty, but I was alluding to during the meeting, Nancy understands. People do that. It doesn't help their cause.
But that does not excuse their behavior.
No, it doesn't. And I agree 100%. I thought there were some very thoughtful comments there. And then there's the usual cut and paste stuff. I just throw those comments out and I focus on the thoughtful comments. And I'm looking forward to addressing the tree ordinance at our next meeting.
Manish?
No, I think that was a good plan. Thought through plan, took 1 year to come to this board. There was a lot of concern from the community, but when I look at all the UDO, it checks all the boxes. There's some concern from the community and those concerns they answered. And I think most of them are already taken care of, either we put in condition. So overall, it should be good plan. So, but I appreciate everybody's coming. It was hard to get in for me, even though I was late, but it's good. But other than that, I think it's good.
Bless you.
And that's it for me.
All right, Amanda?
I just, echo everything everyone said. It was heated in here a little bit, but I hate it for the property owners that it's got to be tough to be them. And I hope that, people on the outside watching realize that's not what Weddington is like.
Unfortunately, I think it is sometimes.
Well,
I'm just.
yeah. But otherwise, I think, I think Toll they've been working on this over a year and have done a lot to tweak their plan and come to an agreement with something that we like. And I appreciate their work in doing that for us. Looking forward. I think that I'm excited to do the tree stuff. I think it is important, but not at 10 o'clock. And Merry Christmas. The town hall looks amazing, by the way.
Rusty?
Well, appreciate staff and council being here tonight. Appreciate all you do. And thank you, Jim, for sticking around. I do like the fact that this board seems to be functioning and our discourse is civil with each other, the way we treat each other. I appreciate that. We all understand Bill believes nothing should be unanimous, but that's it'll be my turn this time.
We all vote our views.
That's right. That's right. But, happy holidays, safe holidays for everyone.
Echo the same. I definitely did not condone the representation of Weddington like that to anybody that comes forth with something just because it's a disagreement. So I definitely feel bad for the homeowners there, or the landowners, I should say. Also, something else was said that Rusty and me briefly touched on was that I guess it was the Kim lady thinks that our boards are split. Planning board's against council, council's against planning board. And I don't believe that to be true. And I would love to see if there was a way we could have a retreat that we could all sit together and talk, hash, make sure everybody's on the same page as what it is and what the goals are. Because I think we might all be heading in the same direction, but I feel like we might all be going up different streams. And there's a better way to get what Weddington wants, what council wants, what some of us, our planning board would want. So I'd recommend something to bridge that gap. And I thank Karen for coming with her elegant words and classy way of putting things. And happy holidays.
Nancy?
Well, I don't have too much to add. It's just that I appreciate the board's patience with me because there are a lot of things here that I'm not a subject matter expert. I get very frustrated with people who in the audience who think they're subject matter experts, but they're not. And they think that we can somehow change the legal ordinances and that we can just on a whim go by feelings and not by facts. And as we have all seen, there are some people that show up at every meeting that I just want to say, are they ever in favor of anything? Is there anything that you're happy about? I mean, I just want to, just tell me, you know? Sorry, I just get frustrated with the constant negative stuff directed at a century-old landowners and
Legacy owner, yeah.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. I mean, we've been here slightly longer than them, but our families have been friends for generations, and for people to treat them like that,
Yeah.
I was just
It's not representative of what it is.
No. Done?
I'm done. So done.
Yeah, it's always a hassle to go last on these comments because you guys steal my thunder a lot. But, you know, I did want to thank Karen for being here. That was a huge help. I was nervous this afternoon. Mayor Bell has some goodies for everybody in the back. Don't forget to get those to walk out. Thanks for those. You know, the public comments, I hope I did a decent job of trying to keep the crowd in check. That could have gotten away from us pretty bad. The Deal family, I feel for them. I don't know why I would need to recuse myself. That one person mentioned, you know, I've been here since '87 and have known Janice a long time. Yeah, I've talked to her. I read Mr. Nesbitt's book about how he built Arrow and the whole vision he had. Like, I just wasn't trying to be confrontational. I just wanted to tell people that some of the history of the land, because not too many people have been here for more than 5, 6, 10 years. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I will end it with, I'm going to say this, and I mean it with everything I have, that I don't think Weddington deserves you, Greg. I think that you are a stand-up planner and you take heat like nobody I've seen, and I appreciate that.
I agree.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more comment.
You did a good job, actually, explaining that.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
Bill's over there talking. I have one more comment. I know that, I'll direct this directly to you. I know that your term is up, supposed to be coming up. I am personally asking you to reapply. I think you've done a great job since I've been here.
Thank you.
I second that request.
You on the board?
All right. Thanks, though. I appreciate that. Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Weddington Green was a little